Hey everybody, yeah, I'm going to do a stream today, and I'm going to do it about our favorite subject, atheism and the state of atheism. First things first, to get out of the way, yeah, I'm going to try to do this without wearing headphones. I got nobody in here, so I'm actually going to do it without wearing these things, which feels really kind of weird, to be honest with you. But we'll see how that goes. Actually, you know what? Maybe I should put them on. I don't know. It feels different. It feels totally weird not having the headphones on, even though I'm not really listening to anything. But let me know how the audio is real quick, because I toned the audio down a little bit. I adjusted some dBs again. And so if you can hear it clearly and without clipping, let me know. I adjusted it down 5 dB, but it still looks like it's clipping a little bit, but it should be okay. Anyways, a couple things out of the way. One, if you notice the counter up here, the 231 days, I was asked to change that to... Oh, it looks totally weird too. What is it? Really? What looks weird? Oh, it looks weird without my headset. Oh, okay. Yeah, I look different, do I? So I was asked to change that to how many days that Kyle had left to give the books, but that's actually expired, by the way. How many days to have to give the channel? That's actually expired. He has like 7 more days to turn over the books. Now, I was... not that one. I was going to turn it over to this, which would be 7 days, 6 hours, and 58 minutes. But unfortunately, it says the number of days Kyle has to turn over the channel to me. That's not correct. He doesn't have 7 days. He had actually a couple days ago, and he failed to do so. We are looking into a contempt of court charge, an motion to show cause, RE contempt, which will be a criminal matter. And so we were going to be taking care of that as soon as my lawyer and I can get together and draft that up. Still might take a few days, but we are looking for criminal proceedings. Anyway, so you guys aren't here for that. You guys are for the state of atheism. Let me kind of tell you the background on this real quick and kind of go from there. So I'm in a lot of Facebook groups, a lot. I mean, I'm not even trying to be humble bragging here. I was like 40, right? And yeah, a few of them I've been removed for being myself, right? For actually providing argumentation that people don't want to actually discuss. Perfect example was something along the lines of atheist... what was it? What's the name of the organization? See, I don't even care anymore. Atheist, AR, Atheist Republic, yeah. So that tells you how much I really give a crap about them, right? Atheist Republic kicked me out of their group for basically giving them arguments they couldn't actually ever refute or even cared to refute. So it happens. But a few of them don't. I'm in groups like Fully Deconverted, which is a really good group. I'm in, actually, you know what? I got to admit that even the atheist community of Austin group, the atheist experience group on Facebook has gotten a lot better. So I'm in that group. I mean, they're not fans of me, and I'm in that group. Although many of the mods actually like me and agree with me, but they won't really say much publicly about it for obvious reasons. And I'm in, of course, the Great Debate community. Link is in the video description. I'm the admin for that one and the owner. Where we foster actual conversations. Now, I admit we haven't done much with the Facebook group. I understand that. There's been a lot of stuff going on. We only have about 700 members, a fraction of what we used to have on the G+. I get that. But I do notice that even in our group, we run things a little bit differently. Now, I'm not against, name calling, insults, vitriol a little bit, as long as it's done not to where it's the entire argument, right? I understand people are going to insult people. I don't really care, right? I'm not a special snowflake. That doesn't bother me. If you say, hey, Steve, your argument sucks, here's why it sucks, and you're an idiot, I'm okay with that. If you just say, Steve, you're an idiot, I'm not okay with that, because that's not addressing my arguments, right? It's just an insult. Oh, I'm not okay with the argument ad hominem, which would be, your argument sucks because you're an idiot. That's an argument ad hominem fallacy. But I've noticed the state of atheism such that a lot of atheists, especially more prevalent ones, are not willing to take upon the harder challenges. They want to go and talk about things that they know are not going to be resolvable. They know that when you get a theist on, nobody's going to prove there's a God. Nobody's going to disprove there's a God. These things have been going on for thousands of years. Nobody's going to settle these things. Okay. And they know this. So it's a matter of just at that point, popularity, who puts on a better show. That's all debates are any longer when it comes to the ontology of God. Who puts on a better show? So when it comes to the actual proofs that we can actually do for the things that we do claim, I find that to be a lot more interesting. And so this group that I'm going to be talking about, they have a rule where you have to present proof for your claim, which I'm quite fine with, obviously. But when you do so, you seem to be... your post is removed, and if you complain about it, you seem to be muted. So I'm not quite sure how they expect that to work as far as a community. Now, I'm in touch with one of the other admins who happens to be a friend of mine. She is looking into it, so I want to make it very clear that not all admins are like this. Not all groups are like this. And I don't think a group should be basically denigrated because of the actions of one. However, this is the owner of the group. This is the original founder, from what I understand, of the group. So maybe there is something more to be said. And I actually have 180 friends in this group as well. So... Rush Hour. No, this is not hating on atheists. My channel is actually to help atheism and promote better argumentation and promote better arguments for atheists and theists alike. My channel is set up to promote critical thinking and not be ideologically led like sheeple and just say, I'm going to parrot whatever the narrative of the day is for somebody who goes on an atheist channel or theist channel. It doesn't matter. I have no allegiance to either theist nor atheism. I'm not either one, and I don't subscribe to dogma. What I subscribe to is proper evaluation of claims, evaluations of proofs, and just rational conversation. So that's what this channel and all my other channels are as well. So let's dive into this real quick. Oh, by the way, hey, Michael, welcome. By the way, Michael, I should have invited you on. Do you want to come on? You're more than welcome to co-host with me on this one if you wish. Mention your paper. Well, it's not actually a paper. I will get into my. I probably will show my proof eventually because I do have these proofs that I write for my blog, but I don't know if that's going to be really the intent of this particular video. Rashaw says, "I am an atheist because you have no evidence for God. Simple. I'm not a theist. So what does that even matter? Did I claim that there's a God? And that's really not a proper justification to be an atheist. This is why my channel tries to explain to atheists how to properly justify your positions. Because just saying I'm not an atheist because you have no evidence for God is actually what's called an argument from ignorance. What you're saying is I hold position X because X has not been disproved. That is quite literally what a argument from ignorance is. So this is why we're trying to up the game for atheists. This is why we want to make sure that atheists have better argumentations when they go into these debates and talk to theists. So let's dive into this real quick. And by the way, happy to have you, Rush Hour. My mods can fill you in with some of the more background of a lot of this stuff. If you're not familiar with atheism, you're not familiar with logic and critical thinking and things of that nature. You see, like Bloodslaughter, there you go. Bloodslaughter, I'm an atheist. I'm convinced without a shadow of a doubt that there are no gods. He has conviction of that. Now, that, by the way, that's not a knowledge claim. That is a belief claim. And when he says, I'm convinced without a shadow of doubt, he's saying that I have no doubt. It's indubitable to me that gods exist. Well, I wouldn't even say it's indubitable. I guess doubt could exist. But in his mind, he has no doubt. He asserts there are no gods. Gods do not exist. Therefore, he qualifies as an atheist in the philosophical context, which is how we use the term on this channel. And by the way, you can actually, Buttslide, you can actually be an atheist who believes in no gods and be kind of religious. There are atheist religions. They're not mutually exclusive positions. But no, it is not shifting the burden of proof. This guy SGSL, and let me tell you why. Both positions have claims. A theist will have a claim that God exists. An atheist will have a claim that God does not exist in philosophy. Those are both what's called contrary positions. Or contradictory positions. That means if theism is true, if it is the case that God exists, ontologically speaking, then atheism, the proposition of atheism, would be false. If theism is true, where God does exist, he doesn't exist. Let me rephrase that. If the proposition of theism is false, where God does not exist, then the proposition of atheism, that God does not exist, would be true. They cannot both be true, and they both cannot be false. So one has to be true. It is the case that God exists, or it is not the case that God exists. And both cannot be false at the same time. Now, there are such things as contraries. Contraries, one is true, the other is false. Both cannot be true at the same time, but both can be false at the same time. For example, contrary religions would be Judaism and Christianity, right? Both of them can be false at the same time, but both of them cannot be true at the same time. But if one is true, the other one's false. If Christianity is the case, Judaism has to fail. And if Judaism is true, then Christianity has to fail. Okay. So, all right. So let's kind of dive into this because I think, by the way, Rush Hour, just sit back and learn a little bit because I'm not hiding. And by the way, I've already explained why I don't have the likes and dislikes this year. So that goes back a few videos. Has nothing to do with anything we're relating to. But Rush Hour, if you're welcome, by the way, like I said, you're welcome to come on anytime. I invite people like yourself to come on, to take me on, to challenge me on these things. But this is how it is in philosophy. We explain what you would find in academic levels. This is what you would find if you go take a course in the subject. And so we're beyond what you would find from the atheist experience. Matt Dillahunty clearly does not want to engage in these topics. He's made that very clear. Aaron has given up on it. He just won't do it any longer. So we have moved on since Matt Dillahunty and Aaron Ra, and we're trying to promote atheism as well. I'm not trying to promote atheism. I'm trying to promote better atheistic arguments. So here we go. So this is the group that I was describing here, and I'm going to show you guys in a second. Okay, so you should be able to see that. And so this group is called Atheistically Speaking, TM, and it is described as a atheistic group that is all for this is skeptical and atheistic. Now let me clarify something again. Skeptical has some connotations to it. No, it's mute because I was muted, Jay. Oh, wait. Hey, welcome, by the way, Jay. Good to see you again. Been a while. So, skeptical, they're using the term ordinary doubt, right? To just be skeptical, to say, well, don't believe everything you hear, right? I think most people kind of follow that. I mean, when most people hear things like Goop from Gwyneth Paltrow, they go, yeah, that's kind of stupid. But not all. There are some people that they're gullible. They believe everything, sight unseen. Oh, you had you had a psychic experience and you predicted the future. Okay. Or you think that a crystal can heal you. Okay. Well, that's what we consider to be skeptical in that sense as far as ordinary doubt. But skepticism isn't have anything to do with ordinary doubt. What skepticism deals with is the acquisition or acquirement of knowledge or availability of knowledge, if knowledge is even possible to be had. Skepticism in the philosophical sense is the question whether knowledge is even possible. There's academic and there's Pyrrhonic. If you have academic skepticism, that's a position where you say, I believe that knowledge is not obtainable. There's no such thing as knowledge. The highest you can have is just a justified belief, but knowledge is not something we can ever obtain. There's actual laws. There's actual rational argumentation for those things. The Pyrrhonian skeptic, however, says, I can't even say whether we can know knowledge enough or anything. I don't know. I don't even know if we can know if we know anything. They're the ultimate in almost like a sophist. Oh my God, I'm dying here. I'm thinking of the word. Solipsist. This is my first coffee. I just woke up. It's black and I don't even have any sugar in it because I ran out of sweet and low and I don't like sugar and I don't want to put sugar in it. But so it's almost like being a solipsist of knowledge. You don't have any reason to think that knowledge exists and you believe that knowledge is unobtainable, or you don't know if knowledge is obtainable for a Pyrrhonian skeptic. But anyways, I digress. So it's atheistic, which means it's non-believer. Now, when I hear the term atheistic, that just means that somebody who's not a theist. So you have theist or not theist. Those are the dichotomy. That's the law of excluded middle, right? So P or not P. If you instantiate P with theist, you get P or not P, theist or not theist. So atheistic would, to me, imply non-theistic, but atheism and non-theistic are not the same thing. You could be a non-theist but not be an atheist, but you cannot be an atheist and not be a non-theist. One is a subset of the other. So I say I'm atheistic towards like the god Zeus, right? I can actually say I'm an atheist toward the god Zeus. I believe that Zeus does not exist. Gods, ghosts, vampires, goblins, psychic, medium, diviners, anti-vaxxers, flat earthers. All right, so far so good, right? I mean, most of us would probably agree, anti-vaxxers are insane. Flat earthers are ignorant. Diviners, mediums, and psychics, I don't believe any of them. Vampires, I think is myth. Ghost, although I've had some weird experiences, I don't believe in ghosts per se, because whatever we've experienced, I don't think they're like dead people. And gods, I'm agnostic on. So they say it's utter bullocks, but many believe in them. Well, utter bullocks is a claim. That's making a bold claim. That is saying that gods, ghosts, vampires, and all that do not exist. So by saying it's utter bullocks, that person who wrote this is saying gods do not exist. They are making a ontological claim that in the universe there are no gods. It's more than just saying, I don't believe in gods. It is saying gods do not exist, ostensibly saying gods do not exist, right? So belief or want does not make anything true. Well, of course, there's no ontological relationship between one's belief and it having to be true. Facts, evidence, proof do. All claims must be proven. No political posts, please. There are many atheist pages and groups that discuss politics, and we're not one of them. I actually kind of agree with that. As you guys remember, years ago when I had the Great Debate Community on G+, I was talked into doing politics. Bad mistake. Bad. No, that was... I should have listened to my gut instinct, because if you guys remember, Jay was around back then. Jay Paddock. You were around, I think. You remember when we started adding political conversation to the Great Debate Community? That wasn't good. But anyways, so right off the bat, they're making a claim that I doubt that they're willing to substantiate. Question for me. Ozzy McFarlane, not our Ozzy. I see you say the state of atheism. What does one or more groups have to do with atheism if they're dogmatic, etc.? This is what we call, like, when we do these things, historically, we call it the state of atheism, the state of the community, things like that. So this is the current state of atheism that I'm referring to in modernity when it comes to what people associate with and people watch on YouTube and on Facebook on their channels and groups. So the state of atheism is where people are at in atheism. We've come a long way in discussing atheistic topics and philosophy to the point where even American atheist David Silverman has kind of modified a little bit. I think I had him on not too long ago. Great guest. I actually get along with the guy, even though philosophically I disagree with him. But I think that Atheist Experience, they have modified some of the things that they have said because of what I've said and others have said. And I think it's making a difference because they're getting a lot of pushback, right? I mean, people, you mention my name on any of those atheist channels and they lose their minds. Matter of fact, Eric Murphy, who is actually a friend of mine, I like Eric a lot, from Talk Heathen, he made a mistake about one of my positions and he offered to correct it, but I don't think he ever did, but he recognized it was a mistake. But they are more willing to at least not hang up on people that run my arguments or talk about me or talk about some of the things I talk about. Minor improvement, maybe. Alan, my friend, says, "Can you speak to believe in as believe exist?" Yeah. Well, I mean, in the way we use terms, Alan, like if I say I believe in God, that means that I believe that he exists. I'm using that as to express an ontological claim. I believe in the existence of God is what it's kind of shorthand for. But if I say, like, I believe in my daughter, that doesn't mean that I believe in her existence. It's not an existential statement. What it is I believe in my daughter's, like, she'll do well in school. I believe in my daughter that she'll do the right thing, right? I have faith in my daughter that she will, be an honorable person. So the term believe in and believe it exists are not co-referential. They don't mean exactly the same thing. So I think that there's something in as you, Alan, would know, in logic called opacity versus transparency, where you can change the propositional value of a statement merely by changing some kind of co-referential term. And let's call it, what's the name of the actual term, technical call as I forgot the technical term, but it is dealing with transparency and opacity. So when I say, like, I believe in my daughter, that's not the same thing as saying I believe my daughter exists, right? So those are not the same exact thing. But if I say I believe in God and I say I believe God exists, those are saying the same thing. So it doesn't change any propositional value if I mean to believe in as an ontological rather than believe in as in we'll do the right thing. Let's see. Michael, you want to come in? All right, let me bring my friend Michael, the Canadian atheist, in real quick. So I'm going to close that up real quick so I don't show anything that I shouldn't show. It's not as dirty as it sounds. So let me get a Google Hangout going for you, buddy, which means I guess I got to put my headphones on. So 1 second. Michael, I'm giving it to you in 30 seconds here. One. Copy. Check your Twitter now. Maybe not. Oh, there. Okay. Nope. Hey, Michael, where are you on? Where'd you go on Twitter? Message me on Twitter and I'll give it to you right now. I not find it here real quick. All right, so while he's doing that, hang on, hang on 1 sec. All right, guys. Trying to get him in here. Yeah, Michael, you're going to have to message me because I can't seem to find you. Oops, that's my Twitter. I was looking. See, I was looking. All right, so moving on. I'll check back in about 3 minutes or so, Michael. Got some more questions, I guess. And there were a lot of questions. I'm still trying to get into this group here. Steve, plenty of good dumpster fires threads when that section opened up. Yes, it was a lot of good dumpster fires, yes. Probably a stupid question from Yankin, but is there any chance that there'll be one day a successor to the non sequitur show hosted by you and someone else? We're going to be starting up the next couple of weeks as soon as the court turns it over to us. Kyle's time to turn it over has expired. We're going to do what's called a motion to show cause, RE contempt charge, which is a criminal proceeding because he failed to turn it over, and he will also be failing to turn over the books. So, yeah, that can be up to 180 days jail time. All right, so the group rules are this. Follow the Facebook community standards, no politics, nudity, or the P word, because I'm not going to get demonetized so quickly. That word demonetizes, I guess. Sent Twitter message. Oh, okay. So give me 1 second again. Let me do that, do that, do that. And I don't see it anywhere. You didn't send me a DM, Michael. Are you gaslighting me? Oh, there. Okay, you sent it. Why don't you just send me a DM, buddy? He did it as a notification. All right, it's in your DMs. There you go. All good. He sent me an actual tweet rather than DM me. Okay, whatever. Oh, that's funny. So no threats of threatening behavior, no blocking group admins or moderators. All claims must be substantiated and verify evidence and proof. If not, your post or comment runs the risk of deletion. No racist, sexist, homophobic comments. No post and run. You must interact with your post and respond to questions put to you. Minimum age to join 17. No Facebook accounts less than 1 year old and may join the group. Okay. I mean, most of these are pretty fair, I guess. Obviously, 1, 2, 3, 4. I have those as well, and it's 5, 6. I have that. 7. I have that. Oh, you can turn off the video there, Michael. Michael. Your post or comment. Michael.
Yeah.
You have to turn off the video.
Yeah.
There we go. All right. So the real one in this one that is the kicker is all claims must be substantiated by verifiable evidence and proof. Okay, well, one that automatically that discounts basically anyone that is claiming that for example, if I just claim that God exists, which I wouldn't do, but if I claim that God exists, you don't have verifiable evidence and proof. What you have is an argumentation of evidence. You can make a proof for it, and people can talk about it. But verifiable, well, how would somebody verify a proof for God? Well, that would be very difficult, and I think a lot of people in this particular group do not have the skill set to know how to actually check a proof, right? I don't think they would know how to do a closing of a tree of a logical proof, which I've done, but it's been a while. But yeah, so this is kind of this to me implies that this group automatically isn't really looking for that much discussion. But the thing is all claims must be substantiated by proof. I had a claim. I gave a proof, one that was valid and logical. Both. So if that's the case, and I gave a valid and logical argument for my claim that was something that has been discussed multiple times across the world by atheists, what do you think happened to it? Yeah.
I can't answer because you already told me that it was.
You can answer. Yeah, you can answer.
Well, no, didn't you say that you were muted or something for a month or something like that?
No, just till February 5th, but the post was deleted.
Oh, the post was deleted.
The post was deleted, and I think that what these responded is still up. The post was deleted. By the way, I have 178 friends in here. There was 180. 2 have already left. One of them was a mod. And yes, T was actually my friend on Facebook. I'm not going to block him, but weird. He's blocked me on everything else. I didn't even realize. But I mean, look at Bullinator's in this group. Jim Majors is in this group. He used to be the CEO of Atheist Republic. Ariel is in this group. These are all my friends, right? So my friends are in this group, and now we have a situation where they're in a group that is actively going against their own rules, and they're actively shutting down dialogue. This makes all atheists look bad, right? This legit makes all atheists look bad because now instead of atheists having this high ground where they want to have conversations and they want to discuss things, they are shutting down actual discussions which involve an actual legitimate proof that is valid and sound without even looking into it or addressing the premises.
Well, I guess I'd say that it makes all the atheists in that group, or at least the admins, right? I mean, do we know whether or not it was like can the admins just kind of delete willy nilly? Like, oh, I don't like that, I'm going to delete that.
I do not
If that's
know.
the case, I would say then that makes that person potentially the members of that group look bad.
That's
But I don't know
true.
if it's,
Well, there's another admin that's looking into it. She knows about it and she's looking into it. So when that gets resolved or investigated, then I will give you an update on that. So I don't want to say they're all like that because she was told about it and she was unaware of it and she's going to be looking into it and we'll see what happens. I'm going to give her the benefit of the doubt. She's a friend of mine on Facebook as well. And I know another one of my friends who I will say, Michael Garrett, he left over this and he was so pissed off that they were trying to shut down conversations and he's better than that. So he left the group. He didn't just step down. He left as an admin. He left the group altogether. So I gotta give him props for that. All right. So that's that again. Reiteration number 5. All claims must be substantiated by variable evidence and proof. Which, like I said, I will. I'll show you that my proof here in a few, but in my claim. So scrolling down here, let's look at the discussions because this is not really a group that's really high-minded from what appears to be. This guy Greg is the one that the admin, I guess the owner of the group, the one that actually removed me. This is a public group, so it's not private, so I can actually show everything. There's no rule against it. I know there's a lot of people not a big fan of Greg. I don't know who he is. I don't know much about him. But I know that other people have issues with him before because he doesn't know how to actually carry on a conversation. He's not willing to defend anything, which is kind of ironic because in the very beginning, in the about section, Michael, what does it say here? It is utter bollocks, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So that is a claim. All claims must be presented with evidence and proof according to Rule 5, right? I mean, in their own. This is called hypocrisy, by the way. There's a word of the day, hypocrisy. All claims must be substantiated by variable evidence and proof. If their claim is utter bollocks, where is the verifiable evidence and proof for that?
That's a good question. It's interesting. Just to back up for a second, I remember when you first put your thing out there, your post from 3 a.m. philosophy or something like that.
3 a.m. philosophy.
3 a.m. philosophy about the atheists and their burden of proof. And we've chatted about this. I've talked about it on the podcast a little bit. And I looked at the first thing. I'm like, this is fucking bullshit. And chucked it. Just kind of threw it away. And then actually looked at it. And then we talked about it at length. And it's interesting. Last week, we had a guy. Well, actually, me, Dean wasn't available, but I had a guy named Dr. Christopher Gadsden on the podcast, and he's an adjunct philosophy professor at I forget which university now in Missouri. And he caught my attention because I watch Cameron Bertuzzi's videos a fair bit, and he had Dr. Gadsden on, and it was kind of funny because it was these two theists talking about defining atheism. So I was like, oh, this will be interesting. And so I watched it, and then after the conversation, I reached out to Dr. Gadsden and I said, "Hey, I'd like to have you on the podcast." And he came on, and we were chatting about it, and we talked about you a little bit. And later on, I'll get you in touch with him because I think you could have a great conversation.
Thank you.
Anyway,
I like Cameron personally, but he doesn't really answer a lot of the hard questions. And he was supposed to come on to have a discussion or debate with a couple other friends like Jack Ingstrike. And maybe Rational Nihilist, and he was supposed to bring I think Tom O'Neill, I think his name was Dr. O'Neill. But yeah, Cameron did a thing on Neil deGrasse Tyson the other day, and he's like, "You want proof for God?" And I was like, "Okay."
That was so bad. I commented on that. I said,
Yeah,
I mean,
I watched a few minutes. I like, okay, this is just rhetoric. This is more just whatever.
yeah. Well, what I commented, I said, I thought you were going to present evidence. I'm actually embarrassed for you.
Is that what you said?
Yeah,
Yeah, Cameron doesn't present evidence. Cameron, I said, I like Cameron, but it's a lot of rhetoric.
yeah. But and it's funny because this whole thing, the atheism versus agnosticism and stuff like that. I've come to a position after a lot of introspection, talking to you, reading the post that you did, and talking to a lot of other people. And the decision that I've come to personally is, I identify as an atheist. You identify as an agnostic. Cool. It's not a hill worth dying on, as far as I'm concerned.
Mhm.
I'll call people whatever they want to be called. But you said something interesting a minute ago. You make a claim about something, you should be able to back that up. And I agree with that. If you say, if you're someone like Arn who says, I know, that gods are impossible, gods cannot exist. Well, then that's a heavy duty claim, and you should be able to back that up. And I think that something like the problem with evil and maybe divine hiddenness and some of these other things. When you look at, if you're talking about specific gods like God of Christianity, well, if we look at the only source we have for that, which is the Bible, we can look at the Bible. We look at all the things that are wrong in it, and maybe come to what I think is a reasonable conclusion that at least that God, it's reasonable to say that God doesn't exist. Again, I don't think it's a hill worth dying on. I think, and one of the things that I've said a few times on different social media and talking in real life too, is in the atheist community, and even I think within the agnostic community as well, we've got bigger fish to fry. Like we've got these groups of people that are convinced that there's this dude in the sky that tells them what to do, that are trying to take away a woman's right to choose, that are trying to force their hardcore agenda on everybody else, and we're quibbling over the definition of a
Well,
word.
actually, can I stop you because you just committed
Absolutely.
you committed a fallacy. You want a fallacy you committed?
Well, no, I don't. Which
Well,
one?
you know what? Let's ask the audience. Let's
Oh, yeah,
put the
fire away.
thinking cap on. This is by the way, this is advanced. This is level 3 because level 1, level 2, level 3. This is level 3 advanced. What
Oh,
fallacy did he just commit? I want to see if anybody can actually catch it. And then I'll get back to it. So remind me to tell you the fallacy if nobody guesses it, because I got a question on the table, and then I'll address your point.
sure.
Because I'll address it right now. Then I answer But's last question. To your point, it's not just definitions. What it is if atheists are going to take the high ground that they're going to be the critical thinkers, they cannot have hypocrisy and double standards in their ontology, in their belief systems, and whatever they're
Agreed.
trying to do. So to me, it is, you can't say I want to be a critical thinker, I want to promote logic, I want to promote reason, but I'm happy to bite the bullet on this, because even though it promotes logical contradictions and category errors and all this other stuff, it's okay. And I don't accept that, right? I don't accept that you can say I'm a critical thinker, but I'm willing to bite the bullet on things that could lead to clear category errors. But anyways, Bud Slaughter asked, quick question. I'm a bit confused. If I'm convinced that there are no gods, wouldn't that make Gnostic atheist? No. First of all, as you know, I can't stand the juxtaposition of epistemology with ontology. It makes no sense to me to do that, and it does lead to issues. I've explained that in my blog, what issues it leads to, but it does lead to, category and some kind of scope issues. But if I'm convinced that there are no gods, that just makes you an atheist. It doesn't make you it doesn't make you Gnostic about it. If you're going to use Gnostic as an epistemic modifier, as knowledge, then a person who calls themselves Gnostic atheist would be somebody who says, I believe there are no gods, and additionally, I know that there are no gods. Okay, which you can do. That, I mean, that's not nonsensical to say that. So if somebody says, if they want to use an epistemic modifier like that, fine. I don't particularly care for it, because, again, I don't think you should juxtapose epistemology with ontology, because it leads to a multi-axial way of looking at it, which, again, one of the quadrants just doesn't work. And so if the whole schema, if one quadrant doesn't work on a multi-axial graph, the whole graph doesn't work. It fails. So if you just say, I am convinced there are no gods, you're an atheist. That's what it means in philosophy, to be an atheist, somebody who's convinced there are no gods. Okay, so let's see if anybody got this right. Just by some guy got it correct. Was he the first one, though? Called the fallacy of relative privation. Very good. See, I got a smart audience, don't I, Michael?
Oh yeah, because I have no idea what that is.
Yes. A relative. Okay, what's that?
Educate me.
Okay, the fallacy of relative privation is the fallacy that is basically the lesser of evils kind of fallacy. It says, well, why are you arguing about atheism when there's kids dying of cancer? Why are you studying geology when you should be studying, oncology? Well, there's always going to be worse problems out there.
Yeah, but I don't think. Okay, so okay. The reason I disagree with that is because is that I'm still keeping it within the scope of the like the same argument. So like what I'm saying is I don't want to argue about a definition.
But nobody argues. Nobody should be arguing about definitions. My
Well,
argument,
no,
as you know, has never been definitional.
because like we talked about this, and I've talked about it with lots of people. You look at because for the longest time, and I told you this before, for the longest time, I looked at the dictionary definition, and that was it. And then after looking into it more, okay, so you look in the IEP. What different people have different feelings about the IEP, but it's the only thing that I have.
I read. I mean, I've read, of course, the IEP and Dr. McCormick's work on that. I think he goes a little bit too far, in my opinion.
Yeah.
He makes it. What he does is uses atheism in every possible general case, which I explain. I understand why he's doing it for the Encyclopedia Britannica, but when you start using atheism to describe like beliefs about other supernatural beings like ghosts, I think it loses what the context of the word is in conversations, which IEP talks about.
Yeah, and I don't think I care about that. But so if you look at the IEP, it says the or at least from a philosophical definition, the person who believes that no gods exist.
Mm-hmm.
So does lacks a belief in a god or gods, believes no gods exist. I I don't think that is as important, or sorry, I shouldn't say that. It's not as important to me to argue about those definitions as it is to say, okay, so you define it your way, I'll define it mine. We can all agree that Mormons are kooky, and we have
I
to,
don't agree with that. I was,
you know,
but that's just
or
me.
Jehovah's Witnesses, or
I don't agree with that. I know Mormons that were very great people. I grew up with them. I was
oh
Mormon.
no, I'm
But
just saying. Okay, so I shouldn't say Mormons. I should say their beliefs. The whole Joseph Smith thing, or Jehovah's Witnesses and their thing, or hardcore evangelical Christians, whatever group of people
sure,
are
okay.
talking that do have this belief and are trying to influence society and laws and everything else. To a lesser degree in Canada, sure, but nonetheless, it still happens. What I'm saying is I don't want to quibble with you over what definition you want to use, because essentially we're both on the same page.
Yeah. No, I agree with you on that. And but the problem,
you know these other people.
yeah, I understand what you're saying. But again, the problem that we run into is when you have atheists out there that are looking stupid by violating logic and violating, these normative things that we understand these words to be, and then telling me that I'm wrong about it, right? How am I supposed to fit in a group when I'm giving out correct information? I'm giving out correct information. Anybody who has a understanding of the topic knows that I'm giving out correct information, and yet they shut down it by fiat by saying this is wrong, delete the post. How is that making atheists look good?
It's not.
Yeah.
But you're not going to, you're not going to convince everybody.
Well,
And
yeah, well,
so, and
clearly.
yeah, and so in that case, I'd say, maybe that's not a battle worth having.
I
And
think it is though, but I think it is.
coming from a person who doesn't give up easily, like it took a long time for me to even accept the fact that what I had heard for so long, when we first talked about this,
Mm-hmm.
what I had heard for so long was this is what atheism is. This is all it is. Everything else is something else. You read the God delusion, you read all these different things, and they're all saying the same thing. And it took a long time for me to realize that I was seeing one dimension of a much larger picture, and that I wasn't seeing the rest of it. You were one of the people that opened me up to the rest of the picture, but you're not gonna convince everybody
No,
of that.
I totally get that, but again, this is one subject that I know quite a bit about, right? So
Yeah.
we all have our cog in the great machine of life. So this is my little contribution. This is one subject that I know probably more than most people. Not an expert, but probably more than most people. I think you would agree, right?
Yeah, and so maybe it is worthwhile. And it's nobody, certainly not my place, to tell you what you should and shouldn't fight for when you think, or when you're convinced, and when I'm convinced that you're right. Like, fight for it if you want to fight for it.
Yeah. Um, Buttslaughter, my concern here is that the term agnostic is that nobody can ever be Gnostic. No, that's not what agnostic is. Again, normatively speaking, Buttslaughter. This is what we'll get into the group here, because he quoted me and he's like, well, that's just wrong. And yet I quoted Dr. Paul Draper from Stanford Encyclopedia, which was me just rephrasing what he said. Agnostic is not a knowledge position. Agnostic is a belief position. Specifically, it's a second order belief position. But agnostic on P means that you have no position on that either way. It's not a knowledge position. And so anybody who says that agnostic is somebody who doesn't know whether God or God exists, they're misleading you, because what they're doing is they're conflating an epistemological proposition with a position on an ontological proposition. So the position on God exists. If you say I'm agnostic on that proposition, right? Let's say the proposition is God exists. I'm agnostic on that proposition. I'm not making any reference to knowledge. That's not how it's understood. It is understood that if I say I'm agnostic on P, I am suspending judgment on P. I do not believe P, and I don't believe not P. I am saying that I do not hold a belief God exists, and I do not hold a belief that God does not exist. This is basic logic. I mean, this is basic philosophy. And so when people say, like, when this my post was removed and the admin says something along the lines, well, this is just wrong, and they quote a dictionary. What is a fallacy when you just quote a dictionary? Well, it's called argumentum ad dictionarium, because dictionaries are descriptive. They're not prescriptive. They tell common usages. But anyways, let's kind of go in here real quick more, Michael. So he posted this yesterday. He said, there's a group on Facebook where the admin do not care about opinions, thoughts, wants, or hopes. Well, that's kind of crappy. I want to know people's opinions. I want to know why you believe certain things. I want to know why you want certain things. And
that's what the internet's for, to read opinions and look at pictures
right.
of cats.
I mean, right off the bat, this whole group just shuts down people. I don't care about your opinion. Opinions opinions generally are unjustified beliefs for the most part, right? Opinions, if I just say it's my opinion, I'm not making a knowledge claim, right? And I can actually say it's completely unjustified. It's I have an unjustified belief. It's my mere opinion, they call it. Perfectly fine. I have mere opinions all the time. Right?
Pineapple belongs on pizza.
My mere opinion, pineapple sucks on pizza. You're wrong. It's an ontological fact. Yeah, same thing. That's a mere opinion, right? I mean, how can I demonstrate that? How can I have anything but an opinion whether pineapple belongs on pizza or not? Because it's subjective, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, it's my opinion. Pineapple on pizza shouldn't exist. It is a travesty of culinary pizza thing, of culinary community. But anyways, if you like it, that's great. I actually will eat it. But that's just mere opinion, right? So I want to know what people believe and have as opinion. But they move on and they say where debate and discussion are not required. Wow. Wow. Discussions are not required. This is basically somebody saying by fiat, you're done. By fiat, I'm not going to discuss anything you have to say. Just you're done.
Well, then, what's the point of the group? To just delete the page?
You know what it is, and again, I'm trying not to be disparaging to the whole group as a whole, just this one particular admin, but because the other admin was very willing to look into these things, so I don't want to disparage the group, but I think this is a stroke his ego, because all he has to do is say, well, you didn't show me God, you're done. You didn't show me God, you're done. You didn't show me God, you're done. I'm sorry, but any idiot can do that. It doesn't take a genius to just dismiss people, right?
Yeah. What's the name of the group again? I don't think I belong to it.
It is called Atheistically Speaking. Yeah, right here. Atheistically. No, I can't see it. Can you?
No, I just. I'm not a member of it.
Let me show this out real quick. So it's called Atheistically Speaking, trademark.
Yeah.
Right there.
Yeah, I just looked it up. I'm not a member of it, and based on what you said, I wouldn't want to join anyway.
Yeah, I don't blame you, and I don't even know how I ended up in it, but I'm in it now. We'll see if they keep me around, even though I've not broken a single rule. I have not. Let me be very clear. I have not broken a single rule, and I got muted.
Well, what would be really interesting is based on is to let the it's a bit of a buzz term, but let the court of public opinion, as people see this, they can decide.
Yeah, absolutely.
Whether or not they want to be involved in something like that. It's just like people talked before, like someone who posts something, like people who post stuff to Twitter, and you put a comment on it and they never engage, they never respond. it's like the equivalent. Like I would almost look at this as like the equivalent of like a troll page, where you're not really interested in anything other than your own opinion, and you just delete anything else willy nilly. So let other people decide
Yeah,
whether or not they want to be involved in something
I
like
agree
that.
with that. Maki says for variety, say ipsi dixit or ipsi dixism instead of fiat once in a while. There's a little difference. By fiat would be more because of decree, right? But ipsi dixit is me when I'm saying this is the case that it is when I'm not presenting any evidence for it. I just it's ipsi dixit. This is the case. I think there's a slight difference between the two. Because fiat is by decree, and ipsi dixit is not. It just say this is the way it is, and you're just saying without any kind of reason or evidence or anything like that. But you're right. I don't use that as much as I probably should. I think I skipped one here. We'll get back to that one. So discussions are not required. I mean, again, then why do you have a Facebook group?
Yeah.
I mean, that's just idiotic to me. Where only clear demonstration, proof, or verified claims will suffice, where stupidity and trolling are filtered out. Okay, well, I mean, I'm against trolling. That's fine. Stupidity, well, I'm not going to kick somebody out because they're stupid, but in my group,
There's a difference between being stupid and being uneducated.
yes,
In,
very
in
much so.
in my humble opinion, I've said this before, and it sounds like I'm not trying to just be uh, I don't know what the word is. I'm not trying to jerk you off. I'm saying like there are things you have taught me. There are things that I didn't know that you have educated me on. That doesn't mean that someone is stupid. They can be uneducated in
Right,
something.
right. No. I think stupid people are, to me, I use the term
Plenty of stupid
stupidity
people.
when people are willful about it.
Yeah.
When
Well, it's
they
a
just want to
different.
remain dumb.
Yeah, I forget where I heard, but it's like um, the difference between what you don't know and what you won't know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't remember where I read that or heard
Yeah,
that.
I like that. Okay, so proof and verification of claims will suffice. Well, again, I did a proof. I did a post to my friend Michael, who was an admin here. He left over this, and it was to him. It was actually tagged him in it so he could just specifically address it because he likes these things, right? So let me go back here. Listen, there's no need to be rude. If you can't demonstrate your claim, just fuck off, you prick. Oh, well, that's lovely. By the way, this is where this guy Craig needs to take some courses of epistemology and basic logic and philosophy. There's a difference between saying I'm making an ontological statement, this is what my belief is that I can justify, and I am able to demonstrate that is the case. Two different claims. And it's straw manning somebody when you conflate them. And let me give you an example. If I say, Michael, I believe aliens exist. Okay?
Okay.
That's not really a far-fetched claim. A lot of people believe aliens exist, right? And you ask me, how do you justify it? I'm like, well, I based it on the Drake equation. Given that there's, such likelihood of habitable zone planets and having water, and because we've seen life form here under similar circumstances, the probability is high that life at some point of all these different planets out there, the quadrillions and trillions of different planets, its life is almost inevitable that it must exist on some other planet as it exists here, being conditions are similar.
Sure, and just because you say alien, it could be alien life form, doesn't mean Klingons or Romulans.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly. But
another form of life.
it doesn't even matter. Listen, I'm just saying aliens. I just saying alien life, right?
Sure.
Now,
Yeah.
would you probably agree? I don't think you would contest that justification too much. You may not hold it, but you're not going to say that I'm irrational, right?
I think it's statistically inevitable. I agree with you.
Okay. So can I demonstrate that though?
No.
Okay.
No.
Well, there you go. Now, my claim is that
Or
aliens
maybe you
exist
can, I
because
don't know.
my
Maybe you
belief
can.
is that the case, but I never said I can demonstrate it. There's a big
Sure.
difference there.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, maybe you have been probed by aliens late at night. I don't know about that, but
But I do believe beliefs represent claims. Now, I used to say beliefs are claims, and I always knew that was technically not the case, but I'm trying to be a little more pendant about it. Beliefs represent claims. So if you have a propositional content, God exists, and you believe that, you're substantiating the claim. So the belief itself is not the claim, but the belief substantiates a claim or proposition. So when a
okay.
theist says, I believe God exists, they have no onus to demonstrate it. Atheists, listen to me very carefully. 160 people out there watching right now. This video will probably get 2,000, 3,000 views. Everyone who's an atheist, it doesn't even matter, theist as well, but atheists, listen to me very carefully. When you tell a theist that they are obligated to demonstrate that God exists, you are strawmanning them. No ifs, no buts, go look up the fallacy straw man, because you're taking their claim, their position, their belief that God exists, and they're changing it to something else. You're changing it to the claim that they can demonstrate it. Not the same thing. Now, you could fairly say, look, I'm not going to accept your belief because you can't show me that God exists. I think it's shitty. I think it's a terrible justification, but whatever. But you cannot tell a theist, you have some onus to demonstrate God exists because that's your claim. Well, that wasn't their claim. Their claim is just a belief claim. There's a difference between the statement, I believe God exists, which is in deflationary, just God exists, right? God exists and I believe God exists are the same thing. And I can demonstrate God exists. Those are not the same statements. They have different justifications. Just like aliens. I can say I believe aliens exist. I can state aliens exist, right? Because basically when I say I believe aliens exist, I'm stating aliens exist, right? I'm stating that because that's my belief. But if you ask me, hey, Steve, can you demonstrate that? Oh, hell no.
Okay, so here's a question for you.
Yeah.
So someone says, okay, so you say, I believe aliens exist. Can you demonstrate that? No. So what I try to do, and this is not my original thing, but when I'm interacting with people, so, well, okay, you believe God exists. Why? So I'll ask them why they believe it.
Mm-hmm. That's fair.
And in hopes to get some type of justification from them for holding that belief. If I say to you, so you believe aliens exist? Yes, I believe aliens exist. Why do you believe it? And you go through the Drake equation, all those other things. Do you think you've given reasonable,
yeah.
And I guess the difference is, so you've given a reasonable justification that you can't demonstrate.
Yes.
Why aliens exist, which is, I mean, I don't think it's that big a claim based on the Drake equation and the multitude of galaxies and all that.
Well, yeah, but what happens before we even have the Drake equation? What happens before you knew planets existed? Sure. This was 1950s, and somebody says, "Well, I believe aliens exist." You'd be like, "Oh, you're just crazy."
Sure, yeah, but if a believer of any flavor says, "Okay, I believe God exists," and you say, "Why?" Well, because, and then they start to go into all these reasons. I think that that you can hold them to a higher standard than your claim aliens exist, or you believe aliens exist. I think I can hold a believer to a higher standard.
Well, you could, but that's persuasion, though. They don't have any onus to persuade you. They're telling you their justification.
No, they don't have to persuade you, but the typical believer, and I'll stick to the flavor that I'm most familiar with, Christianity. They're dying to convince you.
Yeah. Oh no, I agree, but that's why you need discussions, right?
Sure.
And why? Real quick, Michael. Real quick, because you run a podcast, let me ask you specifically, as somebody who actually engages with people, and I like the way you do it. Let me ask you, why would an atheist think it makes sense to try to have an atheist community or atheist Facebook page or try to promote atheism or whatever they're trying to do, and right out the gate they say we don't want to have discussions? In fact, if they have theists in my audience right now, they're saying, yeah, they've been in there, they got kicked out because they couldn't demonstrate God exists. What's the point at that point? How are you promoting atheism? You're making atheism look like they're all idiots. You're making me. I'm a non-believer. You're making me look bad. You're making all non-believers look bad when you basically say we're not going to discuss this with you. Then what are you trying to do? You're not converting anybody. How would I have? Okay, when I first started on YouTube, it was on creationism. How would I have converted anybody out of creationism if I didn't discuss the topic with them? I didn't say like to Wayne Fillmore, hey, show me the Earth is 6,000 years old. Right. What I talked to him was about, well, let me show you why it isn't. Let me show you the problems with creationism. Let me show you the issues. And he left young with creationism. That would have never happened had I not had a discussion with him. And this guy is just shutting down discussion. Boom, done. This is like the worst admitting I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, the direct answer to your question is you don't do something like that. You might as well just stay home. You might as well just do whatever you're going to do. Put it out there, turn off the comment section on everything, and just have done with it. Because
absolutely,
if you've already closed yourself off to that, well then, I think you're demonstrating that you're actually a bad faith agent in the process in the first place.
And yes, and by the way, people are asking. My guest right now is Michael, the Canadian atheist, who runs our amazing podcast. And somebody asked, is Dean, right? Dean's the other co-host, right?
Yeah, Dean's my podcast partner.
Yeah. What is the other? He said, Britt says, what if personal experience What if it says personal experience and I don't want to explain it? That's fine. Look, we all have personal experiences. I got personal experiences that I don't talk about often. That to me, I can use to justify to myself. I don't need to explain to anybody else.
Yeah, and
They're not me.
and your anecdote may be great. I can't remember where I heard this, but personal experience to the person that has it, it's the most convincing thing.
Sure. Oh,
I,
absolutely.
I know I had this
Hmm.
experience, and to everybody else, it's the worst evidence.
Contact, right? Remember the
You,
word
you
contact?
can, it's the worst evidence you can give to anybody else
Hmm.
because your experience can't possibly be a reason for me to believe what you believe.
Right. Yeah. No, I'm on board with that. And I get some pushback from that from people even I respect a lot. It's not like they fully disagree with me, but I think that personal experience is something that we definitely take into account when it comes to these topics. Because again, I can't explain. My experiences are subjective. You have no ability to access them. They're forever what's called epistemically limited to you or unavailable to you. You can't access them. So yeah, now you can step in my head and you can just go, man, I experienced what you experienced. I can see why you believe. Now then you're like, you're totally justified to believe it. Hell, you persuaded me, right? If I went to another planet, like the contact, right, and I know I experienced all that, and I said, hey, Michael, this is what happened, but you're like, I can't really validate that, and I can't really experience it. But if I get you inside my head and you experience it, then you're like, oh yeah, that really did happen, right?
Yeah, but there's a different. Yeah, but another difference is you look at the source, right? Is such and such a person? Is this the type of so? Well, okay, so you make the claim. So I have to take what I know about you.
Mm-hmm.
Are you generally an honest person? Have you?
Depends on who you ask. This is the internet
Well,
nowadays, right?
well,
Yeah.
okay,
Wait?
yeah,
Do you want me to bring up non sequitur?
right, yeah. So assuming we're talking to people who are equal good faith agents,
Hmm.
we look at the individual making the claim. So we look at the claim, we look at the individual making it,
Hmm.
and then we can make, because I say I have a dog, right? Well, I could call my dog in here right now. I could put him up on my lap. You can see I have a dog, right? I could show you the snakes that I have. But if I say I've got a purple dragon that shits ice cream, that's different, right? And even though, so it's based on the claim.
Yeah, no, I'm not disagreeing with you. I mean, the fantastical claims, when things they sound like the mythology, right? They have the
Yeah,
ring of mythology. No, I totally get that. Um, but for example, like you said, when you're talking about somebody's claim and you're talking about the individual, like for example, like Cheshire, I know Cheshire pretty damn well, right? I have a lot of faith in her, a lot of respect for her. I know she's not going to bullshit me. And she says, Steve,
she's a fellow Canadian, so she can't be that bad.
yeah, but if she says, hey, Steve, I'm telling you, I swear to you, please believe me, this is the case. I'm convinced she experienced something, right?
Sure.
I'm totally convinced she experienced this. She's not lying to me. What it is, I don't know. I don't have to agree with her that her conclusion is the same, right? Because Jess and I, believe it or not, we disagree on certain things. We had a disagreement this morning. I loved it. I foster these things. And so if she said, I know that I experienced God, blah, 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 I would be like, okay, Chess, I believe that you really did experience something. I'm convinced of that. You don't have to go any further than that. Let's talk about what possibly could it be, and why you think it is. That's how you approach these conversations, don't you think?
Sure. Yeah. How did you determine? Okay, so you experienced God. Well, how did you determine that that's what it was?
Mm-hmm. That's one
Versus
of the reasons I left theism, because I couldn't determine my experience was of supernatural causation or
yeah,
God, especially, or Jesus. I couldn't make the deductive log. There's induction that could be used maybe, but that's weak induction, and that's not convincing enough for me.
yeah.
Right?
It's well, yeah. And for me, it was just reading the Bible. It's just I don't know how you read the Bible. I don't know
There's
how
a
you
lot
get
of
to.
issues with the Bible. That's another show, but yeah,
Yeah,
right. So somebody had asked, but Slaughter says the way people can justify themselves in that way people can justify themselves in believing pretty much anything that's unverifiable. I don't think that's right. Well, not necessarily. Look at, but Slaughter, we believe things that are unverifiable all the time by necessity, by pragmatism. There's no way around it. The belief that the reality is external to the mind is unverifiable. It's unprovable. It is unjustifiable. But we believe it.
yeah. It's
Everybody
like
in here
that.
believes reality probably is external to the mind. They're not internalist.
Yeah,
They're not idealist. So
it's like hard solipsism. Like you can't.
same thing.
I don't know if we can disprove
You
that.
can't. That's the problem with hard solipsism.
So
Induction. and uniformity of nature. How would you ever prove the uniformity of nature and induction will be working tomorrow? How do you even justify use of it? You can't. That's Hume's problem of induction, that it is unjustifiable, but we still use it, right? So we believe things without justification a lot more than you think. Because
Yeah.
induction is unjustifiable. We believe we believe that it'll work, continue to work, but there's no way to justify it. Now, I got to admit, there is some relatively new papers out on that particular topic, even out as like last year, using a pragmatic way, but not like because we use it, therefore it's justified. That doesn't work. That's circular. But they do go into very advanced techniques to try to get around Hume's problem of induction. I don't know if it succeeds. It was a little beyond my ability in epistemology to read and understand. But if anybody wants to look into that, there are some new works out there to try to take a different approach to Hume's problem of induction. But as it stands now, there's no way to justify the use of induction. It is is unjustifiable belief. So we do it all the time. But I do hear atheists try to argue against that, right? Aaron is infamous for it. Aaron Ra, he'd be like, well, we can justify use of induction because we know induction works. Well, that's circular. That's the whole point. You can't use induction to justify induction. You're saying because of prior experiences, which is induction.
Yeah. That's those are one of the things, I guess, when you said, we use it all the time. I put that on the pile of, I don't understand it 100%, and it also doesn't have any kind of either negative or positive daily impact on my life. Like, it just kind of.
Can I ask why you don't understand it? I mean, I like to explain it if you don't understand it, because induction is basically, okay, so you have two types of you have induction and deduction, basically, and abduction. But deduction is where you have a number of premises where the conclusion has to follow logically from the premises. There could be no other way.
Right.
Okay, so that's always 100%, right? Induction is less than 100%. It cannot be 100%. It has to be less than 100% and over 50%. It's called cogency. So a cogent inductive argument is something that is more likely 50% the case and not 100%. So if I have 100 marbles and I say almost all of the marbles in the jar are blue, X is a marble, X is blue. That is an inductive argument. And it is a valid, not valid, is a cogent inductive argument because most would be over 50%. Now, people will say, well, shouldn't you say it's more likely that X is blue? No, not when you're doing an inductive argument. You don't do it that way. You actually can say by induction X is blue because most of them are blue, and state it as an inductive argument. That means it's greater than 50% likelihood, but not 100%. So when you're running an inductive argument, it's assumed because of cogency that you're over 50% and less than 100%. So it's fine to say X is blue if X is a marble there. But when you say that induction will work tomorrow, you're looking at past experiences, past priors, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so by using past priors, you're begging the question, because induction uses things like past priors and the uniform of nature. And so how could you justify the uniform of nature by saying the uniform of nature won't change by using the uniform of nature in induction? You're saying things won't change because things haven't changed, therefore things won't change.
Yeah, and I don't know that they won't. But another argument that I heard was, so if you're driving along and you see 743 red houses, how likely is it that the 744th house will be red?
Yeah, well, again, you're driving by a whole bunch of houses, and yeah, that's induction. You can say, or the black swan fallacy, right?
Yeah. All those ones we're seeing.
Yeah. So same principle, right? So you can't make a deductive argument out of that unless you say all houses are blue. My house, I have a house. My house is blue. That's a deductive argument, right? Because all houses are blue, and it must be blue. There could be no other way if the premises are true. If the premises are true that all houses are blue, I have a house. My house is blue.
Sure.
Now that's not. It shouldn't really be like. I think it should be more like all houses are blue. My home is a house. My home is blue. That's how it should actually work. Yeah, there's something called the fallacy of four terms where you get into like multiple terms in a syllogism. But in an inductive argument, it doesn't necessarily have to follow. So that's the reason why we can't justify induction or uniform nature, because we have to use induction to make the proof for induction. And if you have to use induction to have the inductive proof, you're begging the question. You're circular. That's why.
Right. In the situation, so if we look at the houses, right, 743 and the 744th, if the 744th is yellow, orange, or anything other than red, what I said before, it's like it doesn't impact my life,
Yeah, no, I get that. I get that.
right?
Kawasa 2001, State of Atheism, like California. Yes, yes. It's an actual state now. Don't you know? Yes, absolutely. All right, so let's move on a little bit here. So Greg is basically saying if you can't demonstrate your claim, okay, well, again, this guy clearly is not competent to have these types of conversations. This guy's not competent to be an admin either, but this is his group, but whatever. And I'm sure I'll get removed from it, but I'm not breaking. By the way, notice this video. I have not broken a single rule. This is a public group, and if you want to go over the rules again, follow the Facebook community standards. Done. No, none of this. Done. No threats or threatening behavior. Done. I'm not threatening anybody. No blocking of admins. Haven't done that. I've substantiated my claim, which I'm doing now, and some other. I'll get you the actual proof that I used. I'm not racist. I'm not sexist. I'm not homophobic. I didn't post and run. I was commenting on it. I'm over 17, and my account's 10 years old on Facebook. So can you guys agree that I've not broken a single rule?
Seems, yeah. Seems like
now, look, I agree. Look at people like my group, and I say this. My group is my group. I can remove anybody I want at any time for any reason. Okay, I'm fine with that. The reason being is because so much problems we had in the great debate community in the past, right? But I rarely ever do that. I mean, it's rare. But I don't allow people in the group that I block personally. But it's a small little group, right? And we haven't really promoted it much because we got other things to do, more important things. But one of these days we might promote it more. But if you're interested in joining the GDC on Facebook, the link is in the video description, and hopefully we'll get back to the way it was, at least having better conversations in groups like this. All right, so let's move on here. I find this funny because Rec is a friend of mine. Okay. And he joined and he's like, "Hello, Rec. Welcome to the group. Everyone here is welcome here, but can I please ask why, as theists, have you decided to join us?" Rec was removed within like an hour or so, he told me.
Well, and it's funny. It's almost like this guy doesn't. Well, it seems to me that he just wants his little insular group.
Yeah, a little circle jerk echo
Yeah,
chamber. Yep. So you can feel
and
like a big dog.
yeah, and I mean, cool. Yeah, you can boot whoever you want, and and have a party, and you'll probably never have much in the way of a worthwhile discussion as a result.
There's none in here. I've looked. I didn't see anything of any consequence. And this says 18,000 members, and I don't think probably 18,000 are even active. 18,000 members, and it's all the same nonsense. One thing about the Great Debate community, we have a rule called no argumentium ad meme. Okay, and that is basically argumentium ad meme is when you just post a meme as an argument, right? And I hate that. Whether you're defending or making a claim.
Yeah, my stance on that is if you're posting it, like, I mean, sometimes if someone says there's something funny, okay, fine, you post a little laughing.
Yeah, okay, that's fine. Yeah,
sure. But if you're having an in-depth discussion and somebody posts a meme in response to a comment that you made or a point that you're trying to make, in my opinion, it's you got nothing, so you're just going to put a meme up.
Yeah. By the way, Rec is actually in the live chat. He's been in my Hangouts before, but it's just unreal. By the way, didn't we have a video yesterday on Ricky Gervais? Look who's here. Yeah, I don't know if you watched it the other day, Michael, but I did a call out for Ricky Gervais because he was promoting some gross misinformation, and my argument was, if you're going to have a platform with 3 million people, you need to make sure your shit's right.
Yeah,
or at least be able to fix it.
I saw the thumbnail for the video. I didn't get a chance to watch it.
Yeah, well, it's not just him. It's like Jacqueline Glenn. It's of course Aaron Raw and Matt Dillahunty, who refused to even address any of this stuff. And they why they refuse to address it? Because they don't like my personality. Okay, well, that's fine. Whatever. How does that change anything that I've said? I find Matt to be a blowhard, smug prick sometimes. I don't disagree with him on a lot of things. There's a lot of things I do agree with him on. And I have no problem hanging out with him. But I think he is the eagle the size of Texas. Arn, on the other hand, I think Arn is very down to earth. I think Arn, of course, has some ego, of course, because he's Arn Ra. But I like the guy. I mean, the guy would be fun to hang out with and have beers with. And I've always got along with Arn. He just disagrees with me on this one particular point, and he makes it very personal. And I don't know why. Because he's never asked me about it. He has on Facebook, but he's never had an actual conversation with me of any consequence on these particular topics. Because I'm afraid he knows I would ask him the same question. Here's my citations. Here's my logical proof. What's the problem?
I think, and this is just my opinion. I it might be fair to say that because Arn is a regional director of an admittedly hardline organization, American Atheists, and they make no bones about that. Like they call, whether it's former President Dave Silverman calling himself a firebrand, all those other things, they are very, very hardline. And I don't know whether that's a factor, or whether or not he's like. Did you read Arn's book?
I've read Foundations of Falsehoods of Christianity or of Creationism. Yeah.
So
it's good. It's actually a good book.
Yeah. And I really enjoy it. He lays it out very simply, and he takes that very hard line approach. If I think it's something like, if your world doesn't include a God, you are an atheist. Period. End of sentence. And I think that's his.
I disagree with his philosophy, but as far as like the falsehoods of creationism and his philology and all that, I don't think I disagree with him on.
Yeah. So I think that's all I've got. I think that's the reason why, it's like, this is my opinion. This is my hard, my hard line on this. And maybe he's not willing to bend on that. And again, when I switch it back to kind of my philosophy on dealing with people, it's like, okay, if that's the stance you want to take, cool.
Yeah.
And
fine.
But it is disheartening that, because like back when, in the early days of non-sec, when Arn would come on quite a bit and had those epic conversations with people like Kent Hovind. Those were spectacular.
Yeah, you're welcome for that, because I'm the one who arranged that, because I knew both of them. That was our most popular video, but of course, I only did 5% of the work. And by the way, people later found out that still Kyle wasn't happy about that. He was such a prima donna. He wasn't happy about that. I was like, dude, we have 500,000 views on that. That was an amazing discussion. And I told Arn,
I've probably watched it 20 times.
I told Arn, look, this is your coup de grace right here. You do you. We're not going to intervene that much. And we never told Hovind he was going to get 50% of his time. Never, not for that particular debate. That was never promised to him. And I knew that there probably would never be them coming together again, because I knew Arn was going to just stick on topic, not let Hovind gish gallop like he usually does, and I was completely fine with that. And for some reason, that really kind of upset Kyle. And I'm like, well, I think it was a brilliant thing. I'm okay with that. I don't give a shit if Hovind comes on again. But I think that discussion between Arn and Hovind was one of the best out there, for the fact that Arn did not let Hovind get away from the question, and he still doesn't understand the phylogeny challenge to this day.
He held him on point one, and it was brilliant.
Yeah.
Here, a little side. I got to divert for just a second. I had a question to ask you. So, and it's non sequitur related.
Sure.
Are you going to get the license for the software that people like me donated to?
You didn't see the letter my lawyer wrote?
What's that?
You didn't see the letter my lawyer wrote?
Yeah, but
it says vmix in there. Yes, we asked for the vmix
legally. I may have missed the point.
Oh, you're talking about the software. Oh, okay, I'm sorry. The vmix software you didn't buy. That was bought by.
No, I'm talking about the stuff for all of the the Adobe. Whatever.
Yeah, I don't know how I'm going to go about doing that, to be honest with you. That's considered some of the assets, but we're going to take it one step at a time. Right now, our goal is to put Kyle in jail.
Yeah.
No bones about it. He is in contempt. We will file a contempt charge. It's called a motion to show cause re contempt. It's called. It is a criminal proceeding.
Yeah, I just remember that when that appeal came out from non sequitur, it was like, hey, we're trying to make the show better. and we need some help because there's this expensive piece of software that we want to buy, and we need some help with it. And I mean, it wasn't. I mean, I forget what I threw in. It was not a big amount of money.
How do you get Adobe back though? I mean, is that a licensing?
I don't know.
Yeah, I'll look into that. Get back to you, Mike. Okay.
Yeah, but it's just like, okay, here's a thing, and it's good for the show, and it worked. It made the show look.
If it's
amazing.
a licensing thing, then possible. So let me find some experts on that and let me get back to you. Okay.
But okay, so just to go back to what we were saying, so when it comes to people like that, and my hope is that moving forward with non-sec gets back on track and everything else like that, that you are able to, have those conversations again with Aaron, and kind of put that aside. Say, okay, I promise I won't talk about the definition.
No,
of
I would like that, and
maybe
move past it. Maybe
we'll past it.
Let me get all that resolved first, and then we'll figure it out from that. Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's gonna be awesome.
Okay. And so, okay, back to the Facebook group here. So, Rec was already removed. I'm like, okay, that didn't last very long. Let's see here. I thought he was posted in here. Nope. Okay, so let's see here. Is Allah male or female? Let's find out. You present him her to me, and I'll ask it. Yeah, it. There's some gender problems here, I think. I'll ask it. So what if you're not male or female, you're an it? I thought that was considered to be frowned upon in the social justice community.
Well, that's just insensitive in general. Like,
but yeah,
that's the reason. And not to go too far off topic. That's the reason why I hate Jordan Peterson.
This is base level crap. Yeah.
I mean, for no other reason other than, and he's a fellow Canadian or whatever. He's still a jerk. It's no sweat off. You identify. It's like, you identify as atheist, agnostic, whatever it is. You identify as a certain gender. This and I'm horrible. I always get these things wrong. So forgive me, everybody. But if you identify as they them or she her, whatever it is, it's nothing to me to just use the pronouns that you identify with. And to him, it was just like this big thing. It was a super inconvenient.
Who is this that you're talking about?
What's that?
Who are you talking about? To this guy, Craig?
Jordan Peterson.
Oh, Jordan Peterson. Oh, yeah.
Right. And so when someone like this says, "Oh, you're just an it,"
well, I don't know about that. I think Jordan Peterson was. And again, I think he was a little hyperbolic on the Canadian law because the Canadian law didn't state that, but that he thought he was trying to make it put out that you are mandated to use certain pronouns or there'd be penalties for it.
Well, no, see, that's the thing is that in Canada you still have freedom of speech, but there are very certain things under Canadian law that are not protected under freedom of speech.
Yeah.
So you can still say whatever you want, but there might be like, for example, in Canada, it is against the law to deny the Holocaust.
Yeah. Well, Germany as well. Yeah.
Yeah, because we know it happened.
And by the way, I'm not against that here either, to be honest with you. But then again, I can see the problems we have with when it comes to free speech. But free speech, I don't think is actually total freedom, and I think I think the society should be the ones that do the pushback for something like that. But I can understand why there's law about it, because by doing so, you allow for more an opportunity of maybe history repeating itself.
Yeah. But the whole
People
thing,
tend to forget.
He, she, it, stuff like that. I just look at that as just insensitive.
Yeah. But I mean, I will never have like a Holocaust denier on. I will never have that discussion. But I might have a discussion on, should we have laws to prevent people to even have the ability to deny such a thing? That actually is maybe a more of a worthwhile question. But even then, there's a difference, obviously, but that's a different topic. All right, so moving on back to this. Let's get back to this. Let's see here. Why the fuck do people think Jesus is coming back? He wasn't nailed to a fucking boomerang. Again, look, I understand that people find humor and stuff. I'm not one of those really. I like dark humor, don't get me wrong. This is not dark humor. This is just stupid, but whatever. If you're going to have a group where you're trying to invite theists and you're trying to invite other people to come in and have a discussion, which this group clearly is not, then why would you be demeaning like that? I don't get it. It serves no purpose, right? I mean, again, I like satire, I like comedy, I like dark humor. But when you have nothing but these types of basal, pejorative type post, who in their right mind would want to be in such a group? I know theist. If I had this in my group, I would expect them to stick around. I had Cy Gart in there for a while, and he left only because he didn't like the rule that people could insult people. And I told him I understand, but I can't. I'm not going to change it. I think that people should have the right to insult people in the group, as long as it's done sparingly. It's not done as an argument, right? And Cy didn't like that, and that's fine. Doesn't mean I don't love Cy. Doesn't mean he doesn't love me. We're great friends. He's just like, yeah, it's cool. That's fine, right? I'm not going to change the entire rules of the group because Cy Gart didn't like it. But I still have the utmost respect for him, right?
Yeah.
But he was just like, okay.
One of the things that we try to do on the podcast is, whenever somebody comes on, it's like whether it's, Kent who's been on or Chris Gadsden who was on last week, out of respect for the individual, we keep the podcast clean so that they can share it around, stuff like that.
I get that totally, yeah.
And I tone myself down because I can be over the top when it comes to the when it comes to some of the atheist rhetoric. Sometimes I go over the top, but if you're trying to be inviting, if you want to actually have the discussion, then you gotta. I don't know if my wife can hear this because she'd rake me over the coals. Why aren't you like this in real life? But you got to be a little more charitable.
Yeah.
Yeah. To have the discussions. Otherwise, what are you really trying to do?
Yeah. I think Cy is Cy in the audience. Yeah, I think he's under one of his other names. Is that actually Cy? Because I don't know why he'd be under one of his other names because he has an admin here. Let me see. Go to channel. Oh, wrong one. That's Justin. Let me see here. Cy, where are you, buddy? Is that really you, Cy? Faithful Science. It could be. Could be one of his alts. I can ask him a biochemistry question and see if he knows the answer, because he's a PhD in biochemistry.
There you go.
Yeah. Now let me know if that really you, Gart. Cy Gart. Okay, I believe you. Well, should we do a pop quiz? Let's see here. What's a good pop quiz for a biochemist? Holy crap!
You're way over my head.
I'm trying to think what a biochemist would. I can't. I literally cannot think of a damn thing. Oh, that's his new YouTube channel. Okay, I guess we don't have to pop quiz him then. Not Site 10. No, Site 10 comes around every so often too, though. But Cy Gart, he's a PhD in biochemistry. Okay. I won't pop quiz him, but hey, Cy Gart, what do you know what I'm doing with RTB? So tell me what I'm doing with RTB, and that way I'll prove it's you. Because I already told him what I'm doing with RTB.
I don't even know what RTB is.
He will. He'll know.
Okay.
Yeah. So if he could tell me what I'm doing with RTB, that I definitely know it's actually Cy. Because anybody can look up bio questions, I guess.
Yeah, I suppose that's true.
All right, so here's another one. Diane Roberts. The majority of psychics and mediums are BS, in my opinion. This person didn't last very long either in this group. Please present one genuine psychic. Busting psychics or mediums, what I do. Been doing it 20 years. I'm a professional magician, hypnotist. Okay. Here's the problem with this though, and I'm not trying to demean the post. I believe the majority of psychics and mediums are BS too. I would actually say probably all of them are. But the onus is when you say psychics are bullshit. The onus is not on the psychic to prove themselves. Okay, I'm making the claim that they're bullshit, and I can show many cases of psychics being bullshit and justify my position on it. So basically, this is burden shifting in a way by me saying or her by saying majority of psychics are mediums. Prove me wrong. That's burden shifting, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, it is definitely Cy. So Reasons Believe as RTB is Reasons Believe with Dr. Fuzz Rana, who's also a PhD in biochemistry, and Dr. Hugh Ross, who's a degree in astrophysicist. I'm doing a show with them now. It starts later on this year. They're doing a custom design set. It is basically going to be about 2 hours bi-weekly. It's twice a month, by the way. Me and Dr. Fuzz Rana just talking about various topics and having call-ins, and it's going to be awesome. I get to hang out with Dr. Hugh Ross and his wife, who's amazing. I don't know if you've ever met Hugh Ross's wife, but she is just so cool. Really nice woman. You know who they
Awesome.
are, Michael?
Yeah, actually, one of my first exposures to Hugh Ross was uh, I saw S.J. Thomason was referencing Hugh Ross in something, and that got me to look him up. So that was my first exposure to Hugh Ross.
Yeah, he. My first exposure to Hugh Ross was actually, I think the first video I ever saw of him, really, that I kind of noted was when he did a discussion. Was it on the Alan Rickman show or something? Or Alan, what show was it on when he had a discussion with Ken Hovind? Somebody remember the name of the show? I thought Alan something or other. But it was funny because let me tell you something about Dr. Ross, because like I said, I do know him personally, and I've talked to him numerous times in person, and I see him when I go down to West Covina. He okay, you again, you have no reason to believe me or not, but I'm telling you, he admits. I mean, he has said he's autistic, so he is on the spectrum. He legit doesn't know when people are being sarcastic, or he legit doesn't really know when people are putting forth like for example, Hovind. When he was in that interview with Hovind, and he was talking to Hovind, he was like, "Is this really serious? Is this guy Hovind really serious?" He didn't. He was like, "This is not." This is not really. This is like being punked or something like that. He really didn't know that Ken Hovind really put forth this stuff in that way. He thought. He thinks everybody's like an honest agent. He has no malice in his body. The dude just doesn't. He's just a 100% nice guy who thinks everybody else is nice. It's I couldn't imagine living like that. But that's Hugh Ross. He is actually a very very nice person who gives a principle of charity even to somebody like Ken Hovind. That's amazing.
Yeah.
But yeah, that I found that out that during that discussion, you Dr. Ross was just like, okay, I guess he didn't know what he was getting himself into for. Okay, yeah, I have S.J. Thomason on every so often. We're gonna be bringing Thomason on more as well. I've been on her show
Yeah,
many times.
she posted this thing a couple weeks back about she wanted to have a discussion with believers and non-believers. So I shot her a Twitter message and I went into her little hangout, and it was more just a preaching session. There was this one guy who started talking about how things he had prophesied had come true, and I had a hard time holding back my laughter, to be honest.
Oh yeah, no, dude, I hear things all the time where I just want to go,
Well, I mean, when somebody
okay,
says, well, it's hard for me as an atheist when somebody says, I was praying this morning and God talked to me, and I'm like, dude, it's like when the voices come back, that's when we seek help.
yeah, well, like I said, I mean, I don't want to disparage S.A. Thomason personally because I happen to actually like her and she's a mod of mine, right? I know
I don't
she's
have a problem with her personally. I do. I'm not crazy about the fact that she's like borderline troll poster sometimes
well,
because
she likes to stir the pot and
yeah,
she says
she
things that
posts
are
a lot, rarely engages.
yeah, I'm
Rarely.
telling you, I know her style. She likes to stir the pot, and then when you get her against the wall, she disengages and goes away for a while, and then revisits it months later, right? I've
Mhm.
seen that pattern. Okay, no, obviously, but I'm willing to call out SJ's statements, right, and some things that I've noticed, right, because I'm not addressing things about her personally, because again, I do like SJ. I get along with her. A lot of people
I'm
don't. I get along with Saitan Brunicate. A lot of people don't. So to each his own, right? But
Mhm.
like the other day, she said something about she knew what she was supposed to do. Her path was crystal clear, and yet
Oh yeah,
she did the
I
same thing
saw
in
that.
2017. God
Oh
spoke to
really?
me, and my path is crystal clear. It took you 3 years, 2 years to get that crystal clear again. I mean, wasn't crystal clear before? I don't understand how that works because she also thinks she's talked to Satan. I again, I think
Yeah.
she has had experiences, but her argumentation doesn't lead me to conclude that she's actually spoken with God nor Satan. Is that agreed? Makes
Uh,
sense?
yeah. I mean, if
Okay.
you tell me you've spoken to, it's like saying that you talked to Napoleon Bonaparte. Like it just Yeah, I'm going to need more than that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, but do you think she may have actually heard something? Because I've heard auditory hallucinations before.
Oh no, sure,
Yeah,
sure.
because I don't. I mean, I won't call her a liar and say that she never experienced something. By the way, Sweet Heathen says, "See, she's dishonest and a waste of time." See, Sweet Heathen is also allowed to disagree with me. See this? Now she'll pay for it later, but
no, I
gotta
don't want
keep her in
to.
mind.
But my dad died 14 years, almost 14 years ago, and about a month after he died, I thought I saw him, and I thought I heard him, and I went through this process, and I came to realize that it was just something I think my brain showed me that I wanted to see.
Oh,
I
dude, been there, done that, same thing.
Yeah. So
I have legit seen my dead father in a lucid type situation, right?
yeah, same thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm like, well, I'm cool that you're back, kind of thing, and how's it going, kind of thing. And I'm well aware. I'm like, hey, you're supposed to be dead.
Yeah.
And also, even to this day, and this is a psychological thing. I fully am cognizant of it. Okay. But like the whole Bloody Mary thing, you know how you stare into a mirror and you say Bloody Mary.
Oh
Bloody
yeah,
Mary.
yeah.
Your mind could play tricks, right? And
Yeah.
I've noticed this, even though I'm not superstitious. Okay, so this is going to sound like it's hypocrisy, and it's not, but it's just a psychological thing, and I'm well aware of it. So I'm letting you into my head a little bit. I've noticed sometimes when I go into my own bathroom, right, that I have to turn the light on before I go in because of the mirror right there, and my brain for some reason has said I don't want to look in that mirror because I'm afraid I'm going to see my dead father.
Okay. Sure.
And even though, because I mean, we've all had these weird things happen, right? So it would be if that was the case, it would be my mind playing tricks on me. Not exactly, I'm not actually thinking that I'm going to actually see my deceased father, but
Yeah.
I don't want my brain doing tricks on me. So I always make sure that I turn the light on first. And I realized that not too long ago. Now, is that weird or let me ask the audience. Does that psychologically sound like something that you've experienced or that you've done? Does that make me uh, um, believe in the supernatural? No, it just means that I know my own mind and I know it is possible that the brain can do weird things, and I don't want to see that because you've had weird sensations, you've heard weird things, so that's why I've noticed I've been turning on the light before I go actually into my bathroom and look in my mirror.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's just yeah, I wouldn't chalk that up to anything other than,
I'm not
you know,
weird. I am, but
no,
for different reasons, I
I think
guess.
our brains do weird things sometimes. I don't think that makes
Yeah.
the individual weird. I think our brain does weird shit. So
So we
yeah.
then just said you're too crazy for me. I can't be your mod. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
So I hate to do this to you, but I kind of got to go.
Okay, buddy. That's fine. I'm going to go through this a little bit more. I got a little time left on this hangout, so I appreciate it.
Yeah, so we'll have you back on the podcast. We're getting ready to do. I'm in the process of putting together stuff for episode 100.
Awesome.
And
let me get with you later on and let's compare some guest lists because I got some people that you might be interested in, and I think you have some people that I might be interested in.
Yeah. So just look him up, Christopher Gadsden. Okay. I'll send you a message on Twitter. You and him would have an awesome conversation.
Yeah, I would enjoy that.
You guys would have a great conversation.
Awesome.
So I'll definitely send you a message with that, and we'll hook up about other stuff later.
Sounds good. I appreciate you coming in, Michael.
All right, everybody. Yeah. All right, take care. Bye-bye.
Yeah, he knows I was kidding, sweet. You know I was kidding, right, Michael? Yeah, he knows. Let's see here. I told him I was kidding. Yeah, Sygart, he says, I'm terrified of seeing hallucinations, and I never have. Oh, I've seen them, and I've never been really terrified of them, no. Well, I mean, when I was a kid, I saw some things, but I mean, even as an adult, before I moved, I remember seeing this entity, it looked like in Magic the Gathering, they're called, I think they're called a crypt keeper or crypt lord or crypt something other, not the crypt keeper, but it's like a ghast kind of thing, and it's just big black thing. I could actually even see the way the wings were shaped and the two eyes, and it's just looking at me. Wasn't looking at it was like going to eat me or anything. Wasn't even looking evil. It was just there, just an image, right, that my brain processed. And I'm like just looking at it from a scientific point of view, right? I'm just like looking at it going, this is cool. What do you want? I wasn't scared. I wasn't terrified. I was like, yeah, this sucks, but yeah, maybe I should just kind of check it out and go with it. That That's how I do it nowadays. When I have a lucid dream or a lucid hypnagogic hallucination, I just go with it and go, interesting. Because I mean, how many people you have had visions like that where you've seen things in a hypnotic, what's called a hypnagogic state or a lucid dream, or worse, when you feel something sitting on. It's very close. Lord of the Pit is very close to it, yeah, but it was called Crypt something or other. I remember, but um, stop it, sweet heathen. But how many times have you had somebody sit on the edge of the bed and you feel the bed move, or you feel the sheets pull down, right? And nobody's there. But I mean, I've had this happen on more than one occasion, multiple occasions. So I know if I have, I'm sure other people have. So, anyways, a little off topic. Okay, so does anybody else want to come in? I got still Google Hangout going here, so if anyone wants to come in, I can give you the link. Actually, I'm gonna start another link real quick. So give me 1 second here. Move that over here. Start Hangout, Google. So if anybody wants to come in, I'm gonna have a Google link ready for you to go. And I've got it. So I'll just copy and paste it to you. So who wants to come in? You want to? Oh, that's Ghost, dude. No, it's not Ghost. I don't believe it's Ghost. It's sleep paralysis. Yeah, sleep paralysis. And by the way, do you know that Aaron Ra? He's in a video that I have called Pine Trees and Elephants? The story of GCat. I have two of them. One is the Pine Trees and Elephants. The other is story of GCat. Where actually Aaron talks about where he actually believes in out of body experiences. Right? He talks about astral projection. And now I don't know whether he still believes it's astral projection. I think he's probably more materialist and probably would say it's just lucid dreaming. But he has had very real experiences with astral projection, sleep paralysis, lucid dreaming, out of body experiences, whatever you want to call it. To me, it's all the same name. It's the same. It's the same experience, right? It's just what do you want to label it? Now, I label it lucid dreaming. I think it is all internalized. I think it is non-materialistic, or excuse me, I think it is materialistic and well, I can't say it's materialistic. It is consciousness, but does it have any real ontology? No. Do I think there's real entities out there? No. I think it's all the mind, tricks of the mind. Although I'm willing to be disproved on that. I'm willing to change my position on that. I would, if we ever actually found out that there are actual beings that you can contact by having lucid states or altered states from LSD or from DMT or anything like that, I would be thrilled to death to check that out. I am fascinated by that particular topic. More than probably than I should be because I've had so many lucid dreams. But I know other people have had lucid dreams. I know that this is a very real phenomenon. Lucid dreaming and sleep paralysis are very different. Sleep paralysis is the state of where your body is actually paralyzed, but sleep paralysis tends to lead into lucid dreaming very often, right? You can have lucid dreaming without sleep paralysis and sleep paralysis without lucid dreaming, but sleep paralysis and lucid dreaming are connected because lucid dreaming usually can, if you know how to like to let yourself fall into it, you can have sleep paralysis and then go into a lucid dream. Yeah. I've had waking dreams as well when you're really tired. I remember one experience specifically where I was I'm guessing about 10, 11 hours into a 12-hour shift in prototype. So this was nuclear prototype. You have 12 hours a day where you're 8 hours it's 8 hours on the job learning how to operate a nuclear power plant, then 4 hours of study every night. And you have a library, basically. You get tech manuals. So you have to get a tech manual and you learn the system. So you learn the set points of the system, the valves of the system. And then you have to learn the physics too. So it's just 4 hours of additional study after 8 hours of doing hands-on experience with a nuclear reactor. Well, it was toward the end of that shift, and I was reading some tech manual, and I got to tell you, I started dozing off, right? And there was this freaking fireball, like a meteorite, that just came up. I mean, right out of the page. Just right out of the page. It's like this in my face, and kind of exploded a little bit. And I'm like, I'm shook myself out of it, but I'm like, holy crap, that was a waking dream. Yeah. So, yeah, I definitely have had them. But I didn't say how many answered. How many of you guys have actually had somebody sit on your bed? Like feel like somebody's actually sitting on the bed, or move your blankets a little bit. Just out of curiosity. Because we're going to be talking about a lot of stuff in the Non Sequitur show. We're going to be bringing some people in that I know. All right, but anyways, let's go back to this. So Diane didn't last very long. This was January 26th, so a couple days. A message for those who want to join this group. If your profile is under a year old, you won't be admitted. You don't answer both questions asked, you will not be admitted. It says on the first question. Now, here's the thing on the first question is I don't remember. The second question though is atheist or theist. Check marks. Are you atheist or theist? Well, the problem is that I'm neither atheist nor theist. I'm neither, and people know this. A lot of people are neither, and they know that. So what do you do when you have a group that wants to pigeonhole you and say, well, you're either theist or atheist? Well, no, that's just not the case. We know this now. We know that has been a narrative put out by the American Atheist and Atheist Community Austin that only applies to their group, right? Their groups use those terminologies. I'm not in those groups. I don't use those terminologies. And this group apparently does use those terminologies. So how would I answer that? I'm neither still. It doesn't matter whether they use that terminology or not. I am still neither theist nor atheist. No matter what terminology they use, they can't dictate my theological position. So Dr. Zayas has never had anybody sitting on the bed. So you never had the old hag syndrome? Because I had it happen twice. I've seen the old hag twice. The first time she was floating above me in this gray, like old people wear, like old women's wear, like this gray outfit, gray hair. Again, not very maniacal, but just floating up there. And the other time, this woman was sitting on my bed. And then I had another guy sitting on my bed, and we were going over chess, how to play chess. How to play chess. How to play chess. How to play chess. I thought it was kind of weird. But yeah, so, I mean, a lot of people have had these experiences, no question. So, original Nilsson says, I've had some girl with orange red hair and completely blank eyes hover next to me when I woke up. Yeah, I mean, people are experiencing these things. Many times people have had these things. Now, again, I believe that the ontology behind it is internalized to the brain, and I believe that there is a lot of similarities on brain chemistry that why we have shared experiences. Maybe one day Dr. Gart can maybe talk about that, but I think there is something to be had when we're looking at these shared experiences. They're probably due to the fact that their biochemistry is the same or very similar. Our neurological pathways are very similar. The way we things culturally are similar, and these are things that are brain processes that we see. But all right, so let's go on here. I haven't looked at even further here, so this now we're into new territory. Let's see here. Somebody's lied about being atheist, I guess. I don't know. Yeah, another meme by a new member. Yeah, I mean, this is, by the way, this is virtue signaling. We talked about this the other day, Chesh and I. This is virtue signaling. How to address all religions so nobody gets offended. Attention, all fairy tale things. This is a signal to this group. Oh, look, by Tim. I'm virtuous. Well, it's a type of virtue signal. It's not a moral virtue signal, although I guess you can make an argument that he's trying to say, well, I am so moral because I fit in here and I believe that, no gods exist or whatever, but I just want to show you how I can demean things, and I'm going to do this meme to fit in with the group, right? So Padme had the hag. I had the hag, was lying on the couch and saw her over it. Her face was all shifty, glitzy and shit, but she had the old lady Victorian wear. Yeah. The old, like a gray outfit kind of thing, right? It's it happens frequently, actually, again. But again, I think that these are things that our brains have similar reasons to have certain things. And by the way, I never had the old hag until I actually learned about the old hag. But the demon thing, I don't remember ever seeing things like that crypt thing. I don't remember ever seeing anything that looked exactly like that. Similar, maybe. But again, your brain misremembers a lot. The brain has almost an infinite capacity to store information, but it stores it very shittily. So it makes a lot of errors. Even though there's a lot of redundancy, it still has a lot of mistakes that the brain has to like fill in with things. Again, my understanding of neurology, which is about that much, by the way. Don't take me for somebody who really understands psychology or neurology. I'm not ever trying to say that I do. I'll stick with this type of epistemology that I know a little bit about. Yeah, and Oscar Strauss, a lot of people have the same thing about DMT as well. Yeah. When it comes to elf ontology, they call it the mechanical elves. No. This one I'm actually going to give Greg. He says there's no such thing as a replica arc. What is it a replica of? To be a replica, there must be an original. I'm going to agree with him on that. There's no original. But here's the thing. This is the difference. He says this, but this is a claim. Nowhere in here do I have seen this before. Nowhere in here does he demonstrate that there was no replica or give an argument for it. Yeah, it doesn't. I mean, his own argument is you have to demonstrate it. Okay. He doesn't demonstrate there was no claim, there was no arc. He doesn't even argue for it, really. I mean, he puts it in here, right? But this is more by the flood. But he says all claims must be demonstrated. Okay, demonstrate there's no arc. Because I don't think it's a demonstrable claim per se. I think what it is a claim that you can show to be false through arguing that it would be by impossibility. If that's the case, if you want to demonstrate it by proof by impossibility or something like that, maybe. Although it technically isn't a proof by impossibility, which is a proof by contradiction. But you can actually say that, here's all the arguments against it, right? But I don't think he even really defends it very well. But his thing is you have to demonstrate all claims. Okay. Well, that's just being hypocrisy right there. Let's see here. Going on. Yeah, and this is kind of a tautology. If God actually existed, well, no, actually, it's not. If God actually existed, the question wouldn't be up for debate. Well, that's silly, actually. This isn't a tautology. This is actually silly now that I think about it. Why would, if God existed, the question wouldn't be up for debate? God could exist right now, and I have no knowledge of his existence. I have just as in the dark as anybody else. So if God actually existed, okay, proof, God exists right now. God exists. The question wouldn't be up for debate. No, it's still up for discussion and debate because we don't know of God's existence. We don't automatically have that information given to us. So why would it change anything if God actually existed? If God actually existed, he doesn't have to interact with anybody. I mean, this is a nonsensical statement, David S. Miller. But you know what? It got 129 likes or whatever on it. It has 33 comments, and I bet not a single person, I bet, called him out on that. Here's, and Rebecca, who seems to be a decent mod, says, indeed, we would have knowledge of such a deity instead of being conned into faith that only enriches those who manage to manipulate the sheeple. Well, actually, no, Rebecca, we wouldn't. Why would you assume what entails that we'd have knowledge of such a deity? If God actually existed, what logical argument are you saying that would imply an entailment that we would have knowledge of such a deity? I'm sorry, that I just don't see that. There's no logical argument to be had there on that, because you can just argue God exists, but he doesn't want to be known. So there's no entailment there. That's just it's just wrong. But again, 5 likes by people. None of them questioned it. This is not a group for critical thinkers. This is not a group of people that want to learn these topics. This is not a group that wants to be educated on these topics. I'm not crapping on Rebecca, by the way. But I'm just saying that nobody challenged her on it. And by the way, this is the kind of group where you challenge on it, anybody on it. What happens? What happens when you challenge an admin? You get muted. Let's go back to here real quick. The admin has temporarily turned off your ability to post comments in this group until Wednesday, February 5th, only because I challenged him on my removal of my post, which I'll show you guys here in a few. But, when you have a group where you can't even challenge an admin, there's a problem. Now, people can say, well, Steve, you have a great big community. People challenge you and you mute them. No, I mute them when they're doing so very dishonestly. You give me a meme and you're just parroting the same stuff. Yeah, I may mute somebody. But you present me a rational position. You say, Steve, you're wrong. Here's a rational position. Go for it. I mean, eventually I might get bored and say I got other things to do, but I'm not going to mute you for it. Kawasa 5001, does that group have any statement on who they affiliate with, or they're just self-identifying with Lactheist? I do not know if they identify with any other group. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, Jigsaw says, if we can go to Mars, there'd be no debate about it. Yeah, well, I think if she said something like lines of, if God existed and he showed himself to us, then there would be no debate. Okay, I might give that one. Yep. But his mere existence does not entail that there's no conversation to be had on the topic. I just think that these conversations are kind of pointless. I think they're kind of futile. I think that they're not productive. I'm an apathetic agnostic in that case, because I'm apatheistic when we start talking about the ontology, because they don't get us anywhere. I do care whether God exists or not. So I'm not an apatheist in the fact that I don't care if God exists or not. I'm apatheistic in the sense that I don't care about the debate if God exists or not actually ever demonstrating one or the other, because I don't think it's possible. So, yeah. For example, we have a dishonest agent in the live chat right now, right? So I'm going to show you a dishonest agent, and then why I do temporarily time them out. So the cup of coffee is hot, says the guy who tells people atheism is a belief. Atheism is a belief. This is demonstrable. This is evidential. This is by Stanford Encyclopedia. This is by Internet Encyclopedia. This is by Oxford, Cambridge. This is by Dr. Jackson, Dr. Smart, Dr. Malpass, Dr. McCormick, Dr. Draper. Can you show any of them to be wrong? And also even some basic dictionaries. The Merriam-Webster Learner's Dictionary, for example. Oxford's Learning Definition. So we're going to give the cup of coffee to give us one citation that says that what we've said about atheism being a belief is wrong. And if he does it, he gets a timeout, because that's how we play this game, because it's fun. It's fun. We like doing that. So is that okay with you guys? Is that cool? Will I play that? Yes, Kawas is correct. Atheism, agnosticism, theism are all belief. And it's, like I said, this is only because I've experienced it with him before being a dishonest agent, but we always give people an opportunity to make their claims, right? So, let's see here. More people to the group. I don't even know what the hell this is. Wow, look at all these people that didn't stick around. 1, 2, 3 already. This is only from January 22nd already, for God's sake. Damn. This is really amazing, Greg. I'm telling you, you're just an incredible admin. Okay, so who cares what it says? Well, that's not the claim. The claim, this cup of coffee is hot, is that atheism is a belief. That is how it's used in philosophy. That is how it's used in academics. That is how it's best understood and normatively understood. Can you refute that? Yes or no? I know, I like playing with this guy. I don't know why. It's probably some, Atheism is not a lack of belief either. Well, actually, atheism is still a lack of belief, because believing God does not exist entails a lack of belief. I believe P is false. By logical entailment is I do not believe P. So yes, when people say atheism is a lack of belief, that actually is true. When they say atheism is merely a lack of belief, that is false. So that word merely changes that whole. Atheism is a lack of belief because it's a belief that God does not exist in philosophy. So believing P is false entails I do not believe P, but I do not believe P does not entail believing P is false, unless you start getting into grammatical things like what's called negation raising, speech act theory. That's a different story. So when you say I do not believe P, that is understood as I believe P is false in some grammatical contexts due to what's called negation raising. But that's a little more complex, and it's not logic. So a cup of coffee, you don't have anything. So you get a timeout. There you go. Isn't this game fun? Come on. Really? It is. It's fun, isn't it? Let's see here. Well, there's always going to be one person to show you guys what I mean by dishonest agent, right? So Maki says, ACA, which is the American Community of Opposite Types Atheist, seeks to assume my agnostic ass into the atheism pool. I think that this is going to be a category error pretty quick. Yeah, and they do that, right? And they won't even have a discussion about it. And by the way, I do know people in the ACA. I do know people that are mods for the ACA. I know people that are on air personalities for the ACA that don't quite agree with the ACA. So there you go. And by the way, none of them will ever challenge me on it. Not one. They'll challenge theists because it's kind of like low-hanging fruit, because they'll be like, oh, well, theists can't demonstrate their claims, therefore, any argument they have. And most of the time when a theist does run an argument, they never address it. I watched on moderated debates, some of it, and I watched more of it. Inspiring Philosophy, who will probably be on Non Sequitur in the next few months. He wants to come on. and Matt Dillahunty. And Michael, from Islamic philosophy, was talking about the holographic principle. And I don't think that Matt addressed it at all. There was some possible refutations, but he didn't address it. And did I think that Islamic philosophy make a good argument? No, but he was right on the science from what I can understand. Right? I mean, the holographic principle is a legit thing. We've discussed it on the Great Debate Community on my other channel a few days ago. Go check it out on my Unleashed. The last Unleashed, it was whatever it was called. But we got into the holographic principle a little bit. So I don't think a lot of the atheist activists out there really address a lot of the theist concerns and a lot of the theist's arguments, because I can tell you right now, Michael does his homework. He's not an idiot. Ooh, who's calling me? What? Who's calling me? I don't take phone calls. Hang on one sec. Let me turn this off real quick. I don't know who this is. I guess they're going to leave a voicemail. Sorry. They have to leave a voicemail. All right, so let's go back to this. Does that make sense, guys, though? The fact that oh, never mind. I kind of lost where I was at. But yeah, IP is a decent guy, yeah. You know, but he was just quoting above the physicist. Yeah, and I get that. And look, I don't think it was a great argument, side, trust me. But that doesn't mean it should be dismissed outright. And yeah, same thing like with Shannon Q and Darth. Darth Dawkins is a manipulative, turd. But sometimes he gets things correct. But I will tell you this, like I listened to Shannon Q and Darth Dawkins talk about Hume's problem of induction a very long time ago, one of the first conversations they had. And Shannon made some errors, like I think critical philosophical errors. But she actually was willing to talk to me and Ozzy about him, you know, and learn from that. Not many atheists do, right? Not many atheists are going, yeah, you know what? I did make mistakes with Darth. You know, how do I prevent this for the future, right? I don't see a lot of people do that because Darth is manipulative. Darth does know some of these topics, but all he does is he just parrots Greg Bonson for the most part. But when Darth starts talking about certain things, the way the atheist counters them are not good counters. And I know a lot of people in the atheist community has pointed that out. But that's because Darth is exceptionally good at mixing some actual science and philosophy or whatever with pure BS, right? And so what you got to do is you got to like pick out the pieces of chunks of kernels of actual legit stuff from Darth. And that I find to be tedious and boring myself. This is why I don't engage with Darth any longer. I used to. But he'll never come in here because he doesn't want to. He knows if he comes in here, I'll have people in here that can actually challenge him properly, and he just will never do that. He is an outright coward when it comes to that. He likes to interrupt. He likes to have the upper hand, and he likes to be on the assertive path, right? He likes to question rather than answer. But yeah. Yeah, IP is pretty cool. Like I said, I know IP. He was actually thrilled that I reached out to him the other day. He's like, I thought you thought I was like, oh man, I thought you forgot about me. I'm like, no, dude, not at all, man. He's really cool. He's chill. All right, so here's another, argument by meme. Religion is like giving a hungry person an empty plate and telling them to fill the food with their heart. Atheism is realization that there's no food. Really? I've never heard of a definition or usage of atheism like that before. I think it's kind of weird that's the analogy. Because if you're talking about hungry for what, like spiritual hunger, you want to, if somebody has pragmatic or prudential reasons for believing in God that are not evidential based, they can still be justified for it. For a person that, for example, and I'm not trying to give any moral evaluation of this, but let's say somebody is an alcoholic, and one of the steps in the 12-step program is to acknowledge a higher power, which, by the way, I don't agree with, but this is just for the argument. So, arguendo, if somebody uses a higher power to get off alcohol, where the ends justify the means, even if you want to call it a useful false belief or an argument to consequence, then that might be beneficial to them. If they're going to die if they continue drinking, right? If their liver is going to give out if they continue drinking, and they need God to believe in God to stop drinking, that would be a potential reason because they have to live to support their family or whatever, then there are some reasons why people would be a theist, right? So I don't understand that if somebody is hungry to survive and the atheist is telling them, well, you know what? If you believe in God, it's not going to help you survive because it's not going to help you stop drinking. I don't know. I kind of take an issue to that, right? I mean, I have a problem with people believing things for prudential reasons. This is one of the reasons I had an issue with street epistemology initially, because I don't think they take into account other means to justify beliefs. Okay, here we go. So this is the main thing. This is the crux. Chad says, Steve has not justified his agnosticism. Oh my gosh, yes, I have. So many times in other videos. I've talked about my justifications for agnosticism more times than I can count. So that is a false statement, Chad. I go back and watch my other videos, and anybody who's in my live chat can tell you that I've justified my agnosticism multiple times. So I don't know why you would think otherwise. Okay, so here we go. Steve McRae, your post was deleted as agnostic equals someone who both lacks a belief in the existence of God and in the non-existence of gods is erroneous. Is erroneous. He's saying that this is an error. Okay, well, an agnostic logically is not BP and not B, not P, which is the somebody who does not believe that God exists and somebody who doesn't believe that God doesn't exist. I mean, that is straight out of Stanford's Encyclopedia, Dr. Draper. And by the way, one of his other mods pointed this out and said, Greg, you're wrong. You're wrong. That's what Steve's stipulative definition here. And I agree, this is stipulative. This is how I write it. But it's ostensibly the same thing as not BP and not B, not P. Or I do not believe P and I do not believe not P. He's saying it's erroneous. Really? That's not how anybody in philosophy would say that, Greg. Matter of fact, I actually wrote a blog on this very thing, explaining the difference between a normative epistemic principle, which would be the Huxleyan type of agnosticism, epistemological proposition, which is the proposition of the knowability of gods, and the normative use of agnostic on a proposition, which is I don't believe P and I don't believe not P, which if is instantiated with God exist, would be someone who neither lacks a belief God exists or and does not believe God does not exist. So nothing was wrong with my stipulative definition. And by the way, if you think that the definition is incorrect, why not address it rather than delete it? He goes on to say, Gnostic, agnostic, and agnostic refers to knowledge, not belief. That is erroneous again. Agnostic does not refer to knowledge or belief. Agnostic is a completely different position relating to theological and cognitivism, which is a term I don't think he's probably ever heard. And agnostic relates to a belief. It is a belief position. Once again, let me make this very clear for you, Greg. Agnostic is a second order belief position. It is a belief about a belief. It is the position that P, you suspend judgment on the proposition and you do not hold ontologically God exists or ontologically God does not exist. And he's like, thank you for trying. Got any more boring shit that's wrong? There you go. There you go. So somebody who doesn't know a jack crap about the topic is saying it's erroneous and that I'm wrong. Doesn't really have a dialogue on it. And of course, you have all these people that are liking it. And they're all just, thank you. Getting sick of people that tell me that agnostic means you don't know. All right. That's exactly what it means. Agnostic to have knowledge of. Really, Greg? Can you demonstrate that with any citation whatsoever? And don't pull up a dictionary, because a dictionary is something that you would be in second grade. We're not talking about synchronic usages of a term in the epistemological sense. Words are polysemous. Agnostic is polysemous. We're not talking about the epistemological proposition. We're talking about the ontological. And as Chi Jump is famous for saying, you're confusing epistemology with ontology, Greg. And if you had studied this subject, you probably would have known that. But instead of actually learning something and taking your other mod's advice, who's a friend of mine who has learned from this, you decided to mute me and decided to basically say I'm wrong. Okay. But now this is my call out to you because I asked you to come discuss this. I invited you to this very hangout. I did invite him, and I actually told his other mod he's more than invited to come join me. Matter of fact, let me see if they responded. I just want to make sure I'm not showing any private communication here. So, nope. Okay. But yes, I did invite him. So, well, through a mod, because I'm muted, you know. So there's other people in here going, in regard to God, everyone is agnostic. No, Craig, this is BS. If you watched my other video about Ricky Gervais, he made the same mistake. In regards to God, everyone's agnostic. Let me ask the audience here. 124 people are watching right now. Again, a few thousand people will eventually watch this. These types of videos don't get as many as my other videos. I get like 400 people watching on if I do something on non sequitur on this channel, or about non sequitur, and I get about 150 when we talk about philosophy and science. And yet it's funny, because a lot of people are like, we don't want the drama, go back to philosophy and science. I go back to philosophy and science, and my view count goes down substantially, which is fine, because I don't do it for the views. But it's so funny when people are in the narrative, well, Steve just does it for views. Really? You can't have it both ways, people. You can't have it both ways. If you want the drama, you don't want the drama, make up your freaking mind. But what I do now is I just do whatever the hell I want. So I don't care. I don't care if 50 people watch or I get 500 people watching. We'll go back to the days maybe when we have non sequitur and we have thousands of people watching. Who knows? Yeah. So this is an incorrect statement. Let me ask the audience again. The 123 people watching. He says that in regards to God, everybody's agnostic. Is that true? Is that true? Is anybody here? Do you agree that everybody is agnostic on that question? Because that would eliminate atheist and theist. If you're a theist, you would disagree with it. If you're an atheist that believes God does not exist, you would disagree with this. So how many people think Greg's right on this? Press 1 if Greg is right, 2 if Greg is completely wrong. And yes, I'm going to use the word completely wrong rather than just wrong. That's just me being hyperbolic. Yeah, I want to know. I just want to know, does anybody agree with Greg on this? Besides Ricky Gervais, which I've already explained is wrong? Because no, I know people that are not agnostic on the proposition of God existence. They say God exists, or people that say God does not exist. You're basically, Greg, you're talking for an entire groups of people here. No? Yeah, Dr. Zayas, I know he's not agnostic. I know he's not. Raleigh is not exhausted. Lucifer Almighty is not agnostic. Kawasa's not agnostic. Actually, Kawasa is agnostic, I think, actually. Sigart is not agnostic. He's a theist. So all these people, Greg, all these people are saying that you're wrong in this. And yet you won't have a discussion with any of them. I'm sorry. I find that to be a little bit cowardice. I really do. I find that to be a little bit of cowardice. You're an admin of a group. Somebody gives you a logical proof, which I'm going to be showing people in a second here. I don't want to get into too much of detail on it because I've done it before, but there might be new people watching. But all these people are not agnostic. They have beliefs. They believe God does not exist, or they believe God does exist. Some of them don't have a belief either way. Those are the actual agnostics. Some of them are, like Kawasa is an actual agnostic, right? And there's, by the way, I just got a message the other day from somebody who identifies as atheist, has told me now they're going to identify agnostic. And they're not the first one, but they're not sure how to come out publicly about it because they're going to get excoriated, right? Amazing when you do that, right? You could be an atheist and everybody loves you in the atheist community, but then you say, you know what? I've listened to Steve, and Steve's right on these topics, philosophically speaking, as far as how it's best and normatively understood. And under those guise of a sensu stricto terminology, I'm actually agnostic, and I'm going to change my label to agnostic. Oh my God, will atheists lose their crap? They'll lose their crap. I don't get it. And I'm not trying to convert anybody. I'm not here to promote atheism or agnosticism or theism. None of the above. My promotion is pick the position that actually best suits you. That's it. Best suits your actual beliefs. That's all I want people to do. That way they can then argue from that standpoint, and they can do so intellectually honestly, right? You cannot be an agnostic philosophically and then claim you're an atheist and then fall back to agnostic when it suits you. I mean, that's dishonest. And I find a lot of atheists that self-identify as atheists are actually philosophical agnostics, which is fine. They don't have to call themselves that. I don't give a crap what you call yourself, but they fall back on that when they're challenged on any kind of burden of proof, right? They'll say, well, I'm just claiming I lack a belief. Well, BS. First of all, if you have a lack of belief, you still have a burden of proof. But besides that point, I know a lot of people that fall back to lack of belief, but then when you ask them, well, do you think all gods are bullshit? Like this group, right? All gods are bullshit. Well, yeah, I think all gods are bullshit. Okay, that you actually hold a belief that there are no gods. Well, no, I didn't say that. Well, yes, you do, because one ostensibly implies the other to be rational. And some of them eventually can say, yeah, I believe all gods are bullshit. Okay, well then it's more than just lacking a belief then. And he goes on to say agnosticism isn't mutually exclusive. Yes, I've explained why agnostic atheism is nonsensical in the weak case. By the way, Matt Dillahunty would disagree with him as well. Matt Dillahunty agrees agnostic atheism in the weak case, the way that the American atheists define the word, it is nonsensical to put an epistemological term next to an ontological term like this. So Greg is clearly not that familiar with this topic. Let's go back to the live chat real quick because I'm having fun with coffee. If I say I don't believe a God exists, what am I? You're a non-theist. There you go. Real simple. P or not P is a dichotomy by the law of excluded middle. If you instantiate P with theist, you have theist or not theist. Theists believe in God. Non-theists don't believe in a God. So if you don't believe in a God, you're a non-theist. There you go. Is that simple? Does everybody get that? It's pretty not complicated. I don't know why it's so hard to understand. I mean, if you want me to type it out, this is the logic. P or not P by LEM. Law of excluded middle. Then you instantiate that and you get theist, be not theist. There you go. So you have to fall into one of those two categories according to classical logic. There are some exceptions which are very much more complicated. A theological or cognitivist would not fall into either for epistemic reasons, which we've discussed, which blows the mind of people. But if you're discounting any kind of epistemological considerations or epistemic considerations like theological cognitivism, then everybody falls into this group, theist or not theist. So if you do not believe in God, you're a non-theist. There you go. I mean, it is pretty simple, right, Nielsen? I mean, it doesn't really, well, non-theist is look it up on Wikipedia. Non-theist is an umbrella term that takes into account atheist, agnostics, ichtheist, which is, again, kind of questionable, maybe. But those would fall under non-theist. But so there you go. Any other questions? Keep them coming. Is there a non-theist organization I can join? No. Why would you? Just like there's no theist organizations. There's no organization that says that I know of really that says, hey, we're just a group of theists. Usually you break it down to what type of theist you are, right? Christians have their organizations. Muslims have their organizations. Same thing for non-theists. There are different types of non-theists out there. Yeah. So I basically let him know. I said, look, I just did a seminar on this very topic on epistemology, and I said, you're exceptionally wrong on here. Would you like to discuss? Discussion is not required. Gnostic, relating to knowledge, especially esoteric mystical knowledge. I'm like, this is cringe factor 1,000. Gnostic refers to a group of Gnostics that existed in the 2nd and 3rd century that believed they had divine hidden knowledge from God. Okay, that's what Gnosticism dealt with. Agnosticism deals not with Gnosticism. Okay, agnosticism was a neologism coined by Thomas Henry Huxley because he didn't have a position didn't have a term for his position relating to a bunch of people at the time that he thought reminded him of Gnostics because they claimed to have knowledge that they couldn't possibly claim. That's where he came up with the term agnosticism. Agnosticism is not related to Gnosticism. And if you know the history of the word, you would know this. Okay? So, wrong, Greg. Just absolutely wrong. So, let's see here. Again, you're in error. Do you want to discuss actual philosophy and epistemology? No, notice I'm being polite. Like, even ask Chester. I haven't called anybody an idiot, okay? Are you merely an admin who uses his power to shut down actual discourse on a topic I can show you to be fundamentally and categorically incorrect about? Yeah, it was esoteric knowledge, message reveal, sure. Yeah, esoteric knowledge, a hidden divine knowledge from God. And that later, if I'm not mistaken, actually, some of them did become Christian or divine knowledge from Jesus. Can we involve other admin player, please? I asked for other admin. And this guy joins in the thing too. This guy, Alex, who later blocks me, right? And the last thing I point to him is my actual proof. And he blocks me because of that. They don't like to be challenged, right? He say, present evidence. Okay, here's my evidence. This is my proof. And you get blocked for it. Kill Dog says, I never understood any of your algebraic variables in your philosophy. Really? Now, if you're serious, I mean, I have a primer on it. Let me see here. Let me get you my primer. called P or Not P. Actually, it's called Atheism, Agnosticism, Logic 101. So that's a good primer on it right there. It looks like this: Atheism, Agnosticism, Theism, Logic 101. This breaks down the logic behind of it. And I'm not going to do it again right now because I've done this a million times. I don't want to bore everybody, but it tells you what these things mean and how to read it. Okay. By the way, Greg could probably use this primer right here. So anyways, this is okay. So we're going to go to my proof real quick. So give me 1 second here. Blow that up a little bit. Now, again, I'm not going to go through the whole thing because, I mean, we've done it a million times, but there are new people in the audience to show them that, at least what I was trying to explain to them. My claim was very simple. By using four definitions or sensu lato, you can actually end up with somebody who's both theist and atheist. This is something that one of the Dr. Reynold, what is his name? One of the doctors pointed out that he jumped a very similar argument. But anyways, this is a proof that weak theism equals agnosticism equals weak atheism. So I set out this proof, and this is a logical, derived proof. Premise, everything that I used. Okay? When this group asked for evidence, and they asked for proof of your claim, and I give them a logical proof that has been vetted, that has been read by multiple people, including multiple PhDs, both theist and atheist, many of which are logicians and philosophers. They have not found error with this particular proof. Is that not hypocrisy? Now, again, I'm not going to go through the details of this particular proof, but if you think that is wrong, by all means, let me know. But to say that it's not unworthy of discourse or discussion, and not even go through it to show which premises are wrong or why it's invalid or unsound, that is the height of dogmatism. That is exactly what I have been warning the atheist community about for years. That this type of dogmatism, this by fiat you're wrong, rather than having discussions on it, is something, like I said, that I have been completely warning everybody about for a very, very long time. There you go. Wait, there you go. Yeah, get my windows right. So can you guys see that why I've been warning people about it? Because this is a prediction that I made a very long time ago, that atheist communities have gotten like this. American Atheist Community of Austin got like that. The American Atheist is like that. Even David Silverman, who I get along with, he still won't talk to me about this particular topic. He'll talk to me about other things, right? And I've had him on. I've been on the Drunken Peasants with him, but we don't talk about any of this because he just says I'm not really interested in that anymore. But I'm like, okay, I get that, but you do. I'm like, at the same time, you do know you made a lot of comments that are incorrect, and I think you maybe should be able should have a responsibility, an ethical responsibility to correct them, or at least talk to me about them. And I don't care if he does it in private or public; it makes no difference. I prefer public because I like the people to see why I can show why he's incorrect. But I mean, honestly, did I not predict this in the atheist community? And yet I'm the one causing a schism. I'm the one that's shunned by atheists, and not all of them. But I mean, some of the content creators, you know. And this is the last thing he said. Fucking hell, somebody doesn't like being told they're wrong, do they, Steve? No, you can tell me I'm wrong. Just show me it. Just demonstrate it. You didn't do that, Greg. You used it by fiat. And every philosopher out there would be laughing at you at this point, like literally laughing at you, how inept you were. That's not me being pejorative. That's not being insulting. We're all inept at something. You're inept on atheism. When I said got any more boring shit, I didn't mean it. I didn't mean for you to take it as a challenge. Learn from this and move on. The arrogance of these people. But like I said, I am the holy prophet of agnosticism. Behold my wonder. Yes, butt slaughter. I will toot my own horn. I called this, and I've seen it happen. The Atheist Republic did the same thing. Remember? Atheist Republic had kicked me out, even though I didn't violate a single rule. But they didn't like what I had to say because they couldn't challenge me on it. They couldn't show that I was wrong. Neither can Matt Dillahunty. Neither can Aaron Robb, because I think that they know if they go into a discussion with me, they're not going to bring any evidence. What are they going to bring? A dictionary? I'm sorry, but a dictionary is not an argument. That's a fallacy. Would you allow a creationist to go into an argument about evolution saying, hey, look, theory is a guess. Theory, guess. Theory, guess. Dictionary says so. Of course not. So, when I have multiple peer-reviewed papers that I cite that, yes, I've read, going against somebody like Greg who has never read a single paper in his life, this tells you the state of atheism. This is what atheism is become. So my challenge to you guys is to up the game. A lot of people have been running my arguments. A lot of people have been explaining to people my arguments and the things that I talk about. And I know that a lot of theists have taken notice of that. I've known a lot of atheists have taken notice of that. And of course, it's always me upsetting the apple cart. But it's not just me. It's a lot of other people that are just as knowledgeable on this, if not absolutely more so. Because again, I'm a layperson. I fully admit that. But I'm a decently read layperson on this particular topic. There's probably not a lot of people on this particular topic that I would say can probably speak about it as much as I do or can. And from the lay people, not from the experts. If obviously, people that have got degrees in this stuff, yeah, you're going to be better at than me. But as far as lay people, if you know anybody that's better at this particular topic, I'm fine with that. I would like to actually meet them or know who they are, and we can and have them on. Yes, but Slaughter, it is a circle jerk. That's all this thing is, a circle jerk over there. So a cup of coffee is belief is taking something as truth, regardless of having knowledge of something being true or not. Well, belief is something we believe to be true. Yes, but you believe things all the time that you don't have knowledge of. You may listen to the weatherman who says it's going to rain tomorrow, right? You believe it's going to rain tomorrow because you're relying on his expertise, but you don't know it. And there's a whole thing on whether we can know future things to begin with. But I wrote a blog on this as well called The Principle of Attribution and Retraction. And I explain in great detail the difference between belief and knowledge as far as when we say we believe something versus when we say we know something and we're not correct. Knowledge must be correct. Knowledge must be true. You cannot have false knowledge. I cannot say I know P, but I was wrong about, I know P, but P was false or not true. I should say, yeah. I know P, but P was false. You can't have that. P has to be true. So if I say I know it's going to rain tomorrow and it doesn't rain tomorrow, it's not that my knowledge was wrong. It was my claim that I had knowledge was wrong. Big difference. Now, if I merely say I believe it's going to rain tomorrow and tomorrow doesn't rain, I say I had a false belief. But you can't have false knowledge. No such thing. Doesn't exist in epistemology. Knowledge must be true. Okay. JTP doesn't stand up to the get rid problems. It doesn't, but there are ways around that. Maki, justified true belief. As it stands, without any get rid problems, it still works. People still use GDP. It's still functionally a theory of knowledge. But there are things called JTP plus, where you add in another condition called a truth tracking condition. It's called sensitivity or safety. And the way it kind of works is when you're dealing with sensitivity, it is what the subject would believe in the next possible world to us, if they believe it would be the case. Now, it's probably a lot more technical than I can get into right now, but when you add a sensitivity condition to a truth tracking condition to JTP, it does eliminate some of those Getty error problems, but not all of them. A professor named Dr. Linda Zybesky, I think you how to pronounce her last name, she wrote a really good paper about epistemic luck, and that any belief first theory of knowledge, where knowledge is a subset of belief, which you have to have belief first, will eventually have some type of Getty error problem due to epistemic luck. And I think she's right on that. Doesn't mean we just eliminate justified true belief. It just means that we recognize that justified true belief does have some epistemic issues because of epistemic luck, which leads to the Getty error problems. So, all right. So, anyways, I'm kind of going to wrap it up. If you guys got any questions, now's the time. But like I said, I did invite Greg. I'll let you guys know what happens. Like I said, I'm turned off from commenting. But if you want to post this video in other groups, please do. If you're in a Facebook group, post this video, and especially the atheist ones. Let them know that I have called out Greg on his dishonest approach to these discussions, that I have a logical proof that is valid and sound, has been vetted by many people, that he didn't even bother to address. And it's hypocritical because he asked for proof. And the fact that my definition of agnostic is in line exactly what you would find from Stanford, Oxford, Cambridge, and everywhere else. So he was wrong on that as well. Kelly Dog, does fallibilism say that any part of your beliefs or opinions could be wrong? If so, then it doesn't make sense to use words like truth, knowledge. Somewhat, fallibilism is a position that yes, your beliefs could be wrong. Anything could be wrong. How it relates to knowledge can't be wrong, right? So it's kind of an incongruent there. But fallibilism, if the way I understand fallibilism, is just that your beliefs, you recognize your beliefs can be wrong, if I'm not mistaken. But I think there are inherent truths out there, right? I think there are actual truth makers that make something true. Like, for example, with the correspondence theory of truth, you have a truth maker that makes a proposition true. Something that exists ontologically that makes that proposition true. Hang on one sec. I'm trying to get this. Let me store my chat here. So, 1 sec. I want to see what you guys are saying. Restore. Oh, that didn't work too well. All right, let's pop it on, make it big over here. All right, so now I can read my chat here. So, and I'm looking at fallibilism to make sure that I kind of get that right there. Fallibilism, yeah, the principle that propositions concerning empirical knowledge can be accepted even though they cannot be proved with certainty. So when it comes to the theory of knowledge, there's something called the weak acceptance case and the strong acceptance case. The weak acceptance case is when you say, the strong acceptance case is knowledge requires certainty, and it's written logically as, I'll write it for you in the live chat here. So this is from a paper that I read a long time ago, but that is the strong. No. This is called the strong case. Okay, so it's knowledge for the agent for the proposition entails certainty for the agent, but the weak case, right, does not. What the weak case is, actually, you know what? I have that backwards. I'm sorry, I'm totally messing that up. It's actually the strong case is this. That's the strong case. The weak case is this. This is for the person who asked this question, by the way. The rest don't care. And then that. And let's see if they can figure this out, what this means. Okay, so that's the weak case. Now, I follow the weak case, and most people follow the weak case of knowledge. And what this means, if you look at the live chat right now, is that knowledge doesn't require certainty, and knowledge requires belief, or knowledge entails belief. So this is the most common theories of knowledge. It's called the weak case. Yeah, thanks. I know I messed up. So the strong case is this. So you guys get it right. That's the strong case, and the weak case is that. So we subscribe to the weak case. So the fallibilism would be we accept that propositions can have knowledge in the weak case, even though they cannot be proved with certainty because knowledge doesn't require certainty. And plus, when you talk about proving things, you start getting into logical positivism, right? That knowledge can only be acquired if it can be proven to be logically the case. And of course, most people don't follow logical positivism because of verificationism, which in itself has issues. Because how do you prove verificationism? Because you have to use verificationism to verify verificationism, which makes it circular. Yeah. Okay, so people. Okay, whatever. All right. So what other questions we got? How long have this has been going on? This has been probably too long, isn't it? I didn't check my timer here. How long is this? 2 hours and a half. Wow, this was a lot longer than I wanted to go, guys. So I'm going to end it at the 2.5 mark, which is right about now. I appreciate you guys listening to this. Like I said, I don't mean to be so long-winded, but I think these things are important. I will continue to talk about science and philosophy. And this was one of the things that I saw that I was found to be egregious. This is one of those things that I saw, which is the state of atheism that I've been harping on for so damn long. about the state of atheism and that these communities are doing stuff like this. And as a group, as a people that you guys, give them pushback on this, right? Because if not, they're not going to want to educate themselves and they're not going to up the dialogue. And we want to have up the dialogue. We want to have better discussions with atheist and theist. Yes, Maki, I know some philosophers, Radford, and yes, argue that knowledge doesn't require belief. I'm well aware of that. I have just actually even read a paper just recently about them arguing that knowledge doesn't require belief. They're twofold. One of them are semantic issues. And the other one is, for example, Maki, and I think Radford actually, if I'm not mistaken, is the one that actually promotes this. If you, for example, take a test, and let's say I know that, if I know that a bomb was dropped in Hiroshima in 1945, but I actually don't know it, but I believe I know, or I don't believe that I know it, but I do know it because I get it right on the test. I had the knowledge that Hiroshima dropped the bomb in 1945, but I doubted myself and I didn't believe it. There's some issues there, right? But we're not talking about those types of cases when we're talking about theories of knowledge. So as far as theories of knowledge, most theories of knowledge are belief first, where it has belief before knowledge. But yeah, there are semantics called Tarski's semantic theories of knowledge out there, and there's other theories of knowledge which suggest that you can have knowledge without belief, but they're not arguing him from a theory of knowledge position like JTP. They recognize that JTP does require belief first. Does that make sense? So that's when you get some complicated stuff. So when people say, well, knowledge requires belief, they're talking about normatively, right? They're talking about theories of knowledge. If you say, well, there are people out there that have argued because of semantics and other things, certain specific cases where you can have knowledge without belief, that is true, but they're arguing possible cases, right? They're not arguing a theory of knowledge that I'm aware of that's based upon that. You know. I was surprised to see your comments with Greg, but it's an opportunity to school the noobs. Yeah. Well, I was surprised to see you join and they kicked you out so soon. So I'm appalled at these people that have positions like of that, to be an admin, to be so inept at a particular topic, and yet won't be challenged on it because they're afraid to be challenged. Greg won't challenge on it because he doesn't know enough to be challenged on it. He knows this, I'm sure. He knows he does. All he has to do is sit back and say, "Oh, you didn't prove God exists. I'm done. Ha ha ha." Well, you know what, Greg? I'm not trying to be pejorative of this, but any idiot can do that. Sit here for 2.5 hours, like I just did, and talk about these kinds of things. Show a logical proof. And not just do it today, do it for the last how many years I've been on YouTube. Give that a try. And then come talk to me. Because if you think this is easy to explain these things and read these things and go read papers and actually do some actual work, let me know what you think when you actually go read some of these papers, which I know you don't do. Same thing about biology. I tried reading some biological papers in the past, right? I suck at it. I admit. I like biology and some papers I understand more than others. But it's hard as shit, okay? It's not easy. And anybody who thinks that you can go read a paper and understand it, no. I have to read a paragraph sometimes 4 times. And I go to some experts and say, can you help me understand this sometimes? Some papers are easier than others. Some papers I just get like that. Yes, But some of them are much more difficult. Like I had a paper that I read called it was about Anthony Flews, because when Anthony Flew wrote in 1972 The Presumption of Atheism, not that difficult to read. Most people can get it first, second try. But somebody had wrote a paper that was against it. And the argument was just clicking. It was like, yeah, boom, got it. But then you go read something like from Sosa, and you go, I had to read like the pyramid, the raft in the pyramid like 20 times, and I get lost after like the 4th page. Okay? I love the first couple pages of The Raft in the Pyramid by Ernest Sosa. But oh my God, it's one of the hardest papers in the world. Don't think it's easy reading this stuff. Go ahead, give it a try and let me know. Set up a live debate with Greg. I already asked him. I said I'd go on a modern day debate with him for charity. Sure. But why bother? Why bother? You're not debating somebody who's competent enough to even have a debate with. And you know what? I'm going to rescind my debate thing. Says I don't really want to debate on modern day debate. I like modern debate, but I mean, I would have to really have a really be really bored and say, okay, I'll debate this person on atheism or agnosticism. But I think we've already done it, so what's the point, right? I mean, I debated the Duke and creamed him, and a year later, he's still crying about it. I mean, when you're beat that bad that a year later, you're still crying about being beat in a debate, man, you got issues, you know? All right, guys, like I said, I'm going to end this because I'm getting a little tired. It's well past my time here. So, will you guys... Bridget Jackson. Yes. Yes. By the way, Maki, how'd you... Oh, my God. I'm really curious. How did you know that it was Bridget Jackson that wrote that paper? I'm really curious on that. Wow. I'm not trying to be demeaning on that. I'm just, yes, it was Jackson that wrote that paper, and it's very good, and I still cite it. But I didn't know anybody else has ever read that paper. That's surprising. It's called Rethinking the Presumption of Atheism: International Journey of Philosophy, Religion. And I'll put the link in there. If you guys go to like Sci-Hub, all ethical considerations aside, that is the paper that he wrote in 2017. Great paper, by the way. And by the way, the logic he uses is the same thing that I do. Only the difference is he uses A for agent. I usually use S for subject. I told him. Okay, I told Maki. Did you ever read it though? Did you read it? But yeah, when he says that atheism believes P, atheism believes not P, agnosticism is not BP, not B, not P. He just uses an indexical as far as the logic. He uses G, actually, what he uses. So he would be like not B, GP would be G being the subject in that particular case, or the person believes P. So normally use A for agent or S for subject, but he uses G. Not quite sure why he uses G, but G represents a person. But anyways, I have a list of citations. So if you guys want to read, people ask for a reading list all the time. I don't really have a lot of books, but if you guys want a list of citations of things that I've read, there you go. And by the way, this is not an exclusive list. I've read much more than this. I just haven't updated in a very long time. And there's certain things that I'm not comfortable enough to put on there because I don't understand it well enough to be able to explain it. And I want to be able to explain things. So most of these things I can explain. I haven't even put like Sosa's paper on here, I don't think. The Pyramid of the Raft, because I don't understand the paper well enough to explain it to somebody else beyond the first 3 pages. Right? So G not P, or G or not P. Yeah, it's very readable and convincing. Yeah, I agree. That paper I got almost instantly, right? I mean, that didn't take a lot of me going over it multiple times. So there are papers people can read. But again, if you want something a little more difficult, I can give you a more difficult paper to read. Well, this was not that much difficult. This was by Misimotsu. That is called "Does Knowledge Entail Belief?" Right. So when people are talking about, knowledge and belief, that's that paper there. So, I did include Sosa. Okay, so my bad. So this is Dr. Sosa's paper. I did include it, and again, I probably shouldn't, because I can understand enough of it to get through the first pages of it and explain the coherence versus foundationalism. But don't ask me anything about the last part. But I did read the paper. I tried to get through it multiple times. All right, guys, I'm going to end this. If you got questions, put in the video description. I thank you guys for sticking around, and please let me know in the video description if you put this in the group. Tell me the name of the group you put it in and what was the feedback on it, especially the atheist groups. Spread it around, not just because I want people to watch, but I want people to watch. Okay, I want people to learn this stuff. This video will be demonetized probably like that anyways, like all my videos. So it's not about making any kind of money off of it, but it is getting the information out there. So do me a favor. I'm going to ask my mods, especially. I never ask my mods for shit because they don't do shit. I'm just kidding. Kidding, mods. But they really don't have to do anything. How often do my mods do anything? They don't have to time people out or remove anybody because we're pretty lax here. So the benefit of being a mod is twofold. One, you don't have to worry about slow mode. And 2, you can come into the Hangout pretty much anytime you want. So other than that, they got it pretty easy. Come on, admit it, mods. You really do. But do me a favor, mods. Share this somehow out there. Would you do that for me? And I don't really ask a hell of a lot, but I think this is important because I think this is a concrete example, reification, as you will, of my predictions of how these groups have become because of people like Greg. Right? So I love you guys. You guys are just awesome. All right, guys. Good night. And like I said, I look forward to reading the comments on this a lot, very much so. And with that, I will bid you a good do. A good do. I was gonna say good night and adieu. See, I do that all the time. What is that? What do they call that when you put two things together? A portmanteau. Portmanteau. Well, no. Portmanteau is when you put two words to make a new word. So not portmanteau, but what does it conflate two words? There's a word for that. Let me know in the video description because I'm too lazy to look it up right now. But there's actually something when you mix up like that, which I do often. Good night.